As Team Canada took the ice for Game 1 of the medal round against Czechoslovakia on Sunday morning, they were confident, maybe too confident, because it was Czechoslovakia that dominated play, stunning the previously undefeated Canadians with a well-earned 3-2 win to put pressure squarely on Canada's shoulders. The high-powered Canadian attack sputtered against veteran Czechoslovak goaltender Dominik Hasek. And now, Canada must win if they hope to medal this spring in Bern, Switzerland. TSN presents the World Hockey Championships. Brought to you by Air Canada, the airline that goes above and beyond. By Esso Petroleum Canada, going that extra mile. And by Labatt's, beer at its best. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our TSN Control Center in Toronto. I'm Jim Van Horn, along with New Jersey Devil goaltender Sean Burke. After breezing through the preliminary round-robin segment with 6 wins and a tie, Team Canada was installed as one of the favorites to win this year's gold medal in Switzerland in a year that had no clear-cut favorite. While Canada's gold medal chances have not been completely eliminated, they must now win both remaining games, including today's game against the Soviets. The teams tied at 3 in preliminary round-robin play in what turned out to be an outstanding hockey game. The Soviets won their first medal round game, shutting out Sweden 3-0 on Sunday afternoon. Right now, let's join Paul Romanek and Gary Green at the Arena Allemande in Bern, Switzerland.
First things first, we'll bring you all up to date on what went on in the first game. The Czechs and the Swedes tied at 5. The Swedes blew a 3-0 lead, but that's another story. So standings-wise, you have in first place the Czechs with 3 points. In second place, the Soviets with 2. The Swedes in third with 1, and Canada in bottom place with 0 points. If Canada can beat the Soviets, they will vault into a second-place tie with the Soviets in the medal round. And Gary Green, I know, of course, you have the magic solution to stopping the Big Red Machine.
Yeah, I've got the magic solution, all right. I mean, it's pretty simple right now for Dave King. He knows that, first of all, he's got to control Bykov, Kamensky, and Homelov's line. Out of the 14 scoring opportunities the Soviets had against Team Canada, that line accounted for 7 of them. So, first of all, you've got to be able to snuff them out. But more importantly, Team Canada's got to find their legs early in this game. They want to pressure the puck carrier, and they've got to do that because they've got to get their skating game back again.
Surprisingly, the Czechs, the team to watch so far in this tournament. We'll see how Canada does in a big game against the Soviets. Jim?
Big one indeed, gentlemen. You said it yourself, it's a big game. Sean Burke joins us once again this afternoon for our coverage of the World Hockey Championships. Needless to say, Sean, they have to win today. There's no use talking about a tie or tomorrow. They have to win today.
Definitely, and I think they're fortunate that they still have a chance at the gold medal even after losing that first game, but without a win today, there's no chance.
Second game of the day at the World Hockey Championships. Earlier today, it was Czechoslovakia and Sweden playing to a 5-all tie. When we come back, the opening face-off between Team Canada and the Soviet Union. The World Hockey Championships continue in just a moment.
Watch this. Hello, my name is James, and I'll be looking after you for this fill-up. If you'll direct your attention to the pumps, we have an excellent Esso Supreme, our best. Esso Regular, of course, but may I suggest something in the middle? New Esso Extra mid-grade unleaded with more octane and cleaning additives than regular.
Try our new Esso menu.
Cute. I'll get back to work. Do they take reservations?
With your hands and your heart, with your dreams and with your pride, with each thing that you do, take above and beyond where the sky is blue. With each thing that you do, rise above.
Above and beyond. That's the Air Canada way. Our new look for the 90s came to us in a flash. The look is new, the taste is true blue. The next time you pour yourself a blue, you won't believe your eyes. The look is new, the taste is true blue.
Welcome back to our TSN Control Center in Toronto. I'm Jim Van Horn along with Sean Burke. We'll take you shortly to Bern, Switzerland and join Paul Romanek and Gary Green. Dave King was quoted in a local paper today saying that he much prefers the style of play of the Soviet Union to that of Czechoslovakia. They are more in tune to Team Canada's style. Would you agree with that, Sean? I mean, you've had plenty of experience against these international teams.
Well, yeah, I would say that. Dave knows the way that the Soviets play now, and I think the Czechoslovakians really frustrated Canada in that game. But with the Soviets, he knows what to expect from them, and I think they're going to go out there today and play an excellent game.
Okay, Sean, we'll be talking with Sean Burke throughout the course of this game in our first intermission. Right now, let's take you to Bern, Switzerland, and join Paul and Gary.
In the last 21 meetings between this Soviet team and Team Canada at the World Hockey Championships, Canada with exactly 1 victory. They had better double that total tonight, or else they can say so long to any chance of a gold medal. Bob Essensa getting the start for Canada in goal. He will be opposed by Artur Irbe getting the start for the Soviets. This is, as the sports pages have said today in big headlines, Canada, Soviets, der große Match, the big game. Irbe with a sparkling 1.20 goals against average in this tournament in 4 appearances. He has been outstanding. He did not lose last year at the World Hockey Championships. The referee is Dag Olsen of Sweden. Johan Einstad and Anders Ekhagen of Sweden are on the lines, and we're underway. Keith Acton up trying to forecheck for Canada. Up along the boards, Al McInnes pinching in. Puck knocked away from him, and the Soviets will go on the attack. A must-win game for Canada. Puck fired in on goal by Bykov, and Essensa hangs on. They'll need a big game from him.
Essensa came in the 3rd period against the Czechoslovakian team, and when Team Canada were down, they had to pinch. That left Essensa all alone on numerous occasions. He came up big for them.
Vyacheslav Bykov, the Soviet captain, a sniper. This is the big line. Bykov out there with Homatov and Kamensky. Al McInnes for Team Canada off the boards. McInnes trying to chop at it. Homatov picks it up back of the net. He's got Bykov in front, trying to center it to him. Goes off the skate of McInnes, and it's knocked up into the mesh, and we get a stop.
Dave King has last line change today, and he wants to keep, as much as possible, good checkers out against Bykov's line. Bykov, Kamensky, and Homatov have got to be controlled today. Dougie Gilmour is a good checking center iceman. Whether or not he plays all the time out there against Bykov today is fairly doubtful.
Doug Gilmour, Brian Bellows, a number of Canadian players really have to turn it up a notch or two in this game. Gilmour up off the boards, gets it over the line. Konstantinov checking his man. Puck bounces up. Kamensky lets it go. Here comes Bykov out through center. Big rebound, played back in behind the net. Gilmour with it. Keith Acton back there to help out for Team Canada. Acton up ahead to Sutter. Shoots. Ederbe knocks it away with the blocker. Bykov. Pass a little bit too far for Kamensky. The Soviets make some changes, and they'll have lots of time to do it. Icing called on the Soviets.
You'll see Steve Yzerman doubled up in tonight's game. Dave King will play him a lot. He's also going to go with just 4 defensemen. Rick Green will be the 5th swing defenseman, but he has 7 dressed.
The team was in pretty bad spirits yesterday, but had a good practice today. And Dave King and assistant coach Brian Murray optimistic.
I don't think there's any question that they all felt yesterday that they took the Czechoslovakian team way too lightly.
Off the face-off, backhand shot by Adams is wide. Yzerman trying to sneak out. Fedosov was right on him. Yzerman trying to outmuscle Fedosov. McInnes. Fedosov works it ahead. Davidov with a shot at Simak. Gets it tipped off his stick and up over the glass.
The Soviets were a little tight playing against Team Canada, and that has something to do, I think, with the way that Viktor Tikhonov coaches his team. Tikhonov is a tough, hard-nosed coach, and as democracy fits in very well in the Soviet Union and is becoming even more so, I think the players are resenting some of Tikhonov's coaching tactics.
I talked to one of the Soviet writers today, and he says there is a huge distance between Tikhonov and his players. Katarinov scores! Mikhail Tatarinov, and it's 1-0 for the Soviets.
The Soviet defenseman with a big shot. He uses it more than any other Soviet player, and watch as he walked right in the top of the circle. He just had a beautiful wrist shot right in the top corner, glove side on Essenza. Watch it from Essenza's angle. That, folks, was a perfect shot.
That comes at 1:40. Tatarinov with the goal, and the Soviets with the 1-0 lead. They score on their first registered shot on goal, although the shots on goal totals a little bit off at times. Bure trying to shake off the checker. Bure battling Lidster. Adams loses it. Bure centers it. Quick shot by Fedorov. Big stop by Essenza. Adams comes back. Pavel Bure. Team Canada making changes on the go, and the pass going up over a couple of lines, and we get the stop.
The Soviets have been shooting a great deal from any angle, it seems, on Essenza in this first period. It's a pretty good example right there. Usually the Soviets will wait to get into that perfect position before they shoot the puck. Not so in this first period.
Fedorov just let that one snap, and Essenza with a big save. 1-0, the Soviets leading a goal at 1:40. Mikhail Tatarinov getting it on the Soviets' first shot on goal. Malahov up along the boards. McInnes back to pick it up. Priakin up to 4 checks, and McInnes wheeling it up around the boards. Irbe. Rick Tocchet out muscled at the blue line. Makarov drops it off. Kristich. Puck comes loose. Makarov into Kristich. It was behind him. Kristich in front. Priakin. Back of the net. Kristich centers it in front. It's picked up, and Murray Craven starts the rush back for Canada. Offside.
Canada started off this game by playing a pretty good pinching game. They weren't going to sit back on their heels and let the Soviets come to them.
And the question is, how soon can you start to force it? You're down by a goal early in the hockey game, and Canada just doesn't have the offensive firepower to be able to drop down by a goal or two. So already, do you think, Gary, they have to start playing back in their heels?
No. Team Canada can't afford to do that, Paul. They've got to continue to challenge that puck carrier.
Fedorov shooting. Just missed. Sharp angle shot by Homatov. Back to the line. Fedorov in off the boards around back of the net. Homatov centers it right in front. They score. Bikov.
It's that big line for the Soviets again. Homatov has got time as Lidster misses his check. That puck came right out to Bikov. No Team Canada player in the slot covering Bikov.
2 shots on goal for the Soviets and 2 goals. Essenza dropping it off for Coffey. Hands it away. Davidov trying to shake off the checker. He's got Nemchinov sneaking in to help out as well. Nemchinov knocks it loose. Delayed penalty coming up. It is going to go against Team Canada as Al McInnes touches it. A holding call. And the Soviets will go to work in the power play and work on a 2-0 lead. We'll be right back.
It's an event just being here. Skydome, the world's greatest entertainment center.
He's got the move. And shooting scores!
Round robin action Saturday and Sunday. The Memorial Cup on TSN.
Paul Coffey off for holding the Soviets in the power play, already leading by a score of 2-0. We played 4.5 minutes of the first period. Kravchuk, that's stopped and cleared up over the boards. 1 minute and 43 seconds to go in the Soviet power play.
Team Canada have been able, against the Soviets, to do well killing penalties. We're going to have to do that right now.
Canada has the second best penalty killing unit in the tournament, 94.3% efficiency.
Well, this wasn't in the game plan. You can bet on that. 4:36, 2-0 for the Soviets.
And Canada's penalty killing unit up against a power play that is surprisingly not being dominant for the Soviets. It's 5th in the tournament, and usually that power play is one of their biggest weapons. Doug Gilmour for Team Canada. Trying to chop it out, knock loose. Back to the line. Fedosov works it in. Holmatov. Bykov. Back to Fedosov. Tatarinov works it in deeper. Bykov going to the front of the net. Tatarinov shoots. Essence of the stop. Here's Holmatov gobbling it up. 1:03 left in the power play for the Soviets. Holmatov. Kaminsky. Tatarinov with a shot that hits Bykov. It's knocked down. Rick Tocchet and Gilmour. Bykov picks it up. 45 seconds left in the power play for the Soviets. Kaminsky in over the blue line. Drops it off. Fedosov sets up. Holmatov lurking just off to the side of the net if they can get it to him. Essensov kept in at the line by Tatarinov. And finally McCowan gets it out, relieves some of the pressure with 18 seconds left in the man advantage for the Soviets. We played 6:05, 2-0, the Soviets leading. Dying seconds of the power play. Konstantinov works it around back of the net. And Canada managing to batten down the hatches during that Soviet man advantage. Still 2-0, the Soviets on top. We've played 6:25. And now the trick is to get some offense going.
This is the big line right now for Team Canada. They've got to be the ones to get it going for them.
Here comes Yzerman. He's out there with Bellows and Adams, the big threesome. Bellows has it get away from him. And quickly the Soviets turn it to offense. Pavel Bure trying to slide it back in front. Fedorov shoots up over top of the net. Konstantinov keeping it in. Bure lets it go. Byakin in back of the net. Fedorov in to help out. Bure's up there forechecking as well. Lots of pressure by the Soviets. Byakin tried to center it. Here comes Yzerman back. Up to Bellows. McInnes there as well. Yzerman. Byakin working it up. There's that quick breakout pass. Bure cuts in. Pavel Bure tied up by McInnes. Couldn't get the shot away. Byakin has it knocked away. Bure gets it loose. Fedorov back of the net. Here's Gilmour. Up quickly to Yzerman. Bellows with him. Yzerman with some room. Still loose. Bellows. Craven chops it back of the net. Yzerman tried to center and it's picked off. Makarov waiting for his mates to catch up on the line change. Pryakin almost took off. Had a little bit of daylight as he came in over the blue line. The Soviets love to go all the way back into their own end to regroup.
Simply because they want to maintain possession of the puck. They won't just give it up.
Kristich stopped at the line. Craven. Craven in the corner. Pryakin gets it out. Kristich. Makarov fires it in wide. Pryakin up in the corner. Picks it up. Makarov and Kristich up front. Kristich clogging out up right in front of the net. Difficult for Essensa to see. Pryakin cuts back in front. Tried to whip it across to Kristich. It's knocked away. Fleury. McCowan shoots. And Erbe will hang on. That's only the second shot on goal for Canada.
Theron Fleury was involved in a collision. He went flat back on his back, and now you can see him not in the stands, that's for sure. That's not where Theron Fleury is. Fleury gets pulled down by Gusarov in front of the net. You can see that Gusarov had a hold of Theron Fleury's stick, and likewise Fleury a hold of Gusarov's stick.
And look at
now
Gusarov.
Watch this now. Gusarov looks down on Fleury, and then Fleury, wasn't Gusarov that knocked Fleury from behind. It was another Soviet player that came in and knocked Fleury off balance.
But Fleury providing a bit of spark. He was battling with Gusarov, who has to have about 4 inches on him at least. Gusarov was taunting him. You could see that in the replay. Fleury giving it right back. And that's more the kind of effort Team Canada must get in this game if they want to turn it around. Down 2-0 already. Tatarinov and Bykov scoring at 1:40 and 3:48. We played 9 minutes and 10 seconds. I'm Paul Romanek with Gary Green, Jim Van Horn, and Sean Burke back in our studios in Toronto. And we are in Bern, Switzerland at the World Hockey Championships. A must-win game for Canada. Offside.
Offside.
A win in this game for Canada, and they leapfrog up over top of Sweden into a second-place tie with the Soviets.
Czechoslovakian team has been the surprise team in this medal round.
Caught Dave King and everybody by surprise the way they played the other night in that victory over Canada in the medal round.
I don't know how much time I had there.
I think King a little concerned right now that the bench might be a little bit too quiet, that players down 2-0 early in this game. Maybe sagging a little bit.
I mentioned earlier, team morale was really low yesterday. Talking to Coach Brian Murray. Said they had a good day out, just took a day away, relaxed, and he sensed spirits uplifted this morning at the skate. Gilmore. One of the guys Murray would like to see a bigger effort from. Gilmore with a good effort there to keep it in. Back to Lidster. Works it in. Sutter trying to punch it on goal. Lidster with a shot. Gilmore back of the net. It bounces past him. Malahov gets it out. Kicking into gear. Homatov. Cuts across. Homatov. Getting some help from Bykov. This is the dangerous combination for the Soviets. Bykov, Kaminsky, and Homatov. Watch them every time they're on the ice, because they can kill you.
You can see Gilmore's line was out there once again against them.
And Viktor Tikhonov changing things up, perhaps trying to stay away from that checking Gilmore line. Viakin up with Bure. Kravchuk up to help out. Bure works it loose. Finally, the second, third, and 10th effort. Gets his way back to the blue line, but couldn't keep it in.
You know, as smart as Tikhonov is as a coach, he doesn't match lines. He doesn't even attempt to.
Bure shoots. Essenza gets a piece of it. Bure after his own rebound. Here comes Paul Coffey back for Team Canada. Adams in on the left side going for the net. Team Canada caught on the offside. Coffey has to come all the way out and wait for the troops to regroup. Adams again. Out there with Eiserman and Bellows. Offside. It is 2-0. The Soviets leading. We played 11:01 and we'll be right back.
You'll be surprised who's driving Hyundai. Open your eyes, you'll get there someday. You'll be surprised by the room, the style, the zoom, the ride, the feel, the higher ideal. You'll be surprised who's driving Hyundai. Open your eyes, you'll drive one someday, and you'll be surprised.
Here's Paul Coffey. Flipping it in for Team Canada. Coffey with a sore hand, and he's not able to shoot the puck. He will pass it almost always.
He had that sore hand also playing against the Czechoslovakian team. When we were questioning during the game as to why Coffey didn't shoot a few times from the slot when he had a great opportunity.
At least 3 chances, Gary, where he could have just wired it. And we found out today why. He didn't. Fleury steps in, fakes his shot. Fleury out there with Craven. And Tockett in front, trying to muscle his way in. And you know Tockett's on his game when he can go to the net like that. Puck hops out of play.
The thing is, Team Canada right now has got to shoot more. Opportunities they will get inside that blue line aren't plentiful.
Talked earlier about the great distance between Tikhonov and his players. He is despised by most of the team. It is the assistant coach, Dmitriev, who is sort of the go-between. He's the friend of the players, the guy who relays the messages. Tikhonov prefers to remain at arm's length. Or at 20-foot pole length. You can't argue with his success, though. Semak. Rubbed by Adams. Sutter back there. Up around the boards. Here's Bellows now, and a penalty coming up. A roughing call, and it's going to go against Canada. Greg Adams heading off for roughing at 12:01. And Doug Lidster and company will stare up at the clock and see another 2-minute Soviet man advantage to worry about.
Watch Gus Adams right in the corner, gets his stick up way too high and leaves it there. Those type of retaliation penalties end up being costly for Team Canada. King talked earlier today about making sure that the players had to maintain their discipline. That if there was a right time to get a player, it had to be the perfect opportunity to give him a good, clean body check. Not an elbow.
Bykov, Homatov, and Kamensky out there for the Soviets up front in the power play. That is no surprise at all. Bellows and Yzerman up front for Canada. McCowan and McInnes back in the blue line. Homatov trying to come in, takes a chop at McCowan. Bykov keeps it in, works it in. Bykov, Kamensky. Back to the line. Konstantinov scores. Kamensky.
What a shot. Watch Kamensky. As soon as he gets possession of the puck, he takes about 2 or 3 strides and winds up and blasts that puck right up in the top corner, short side. On Bob Essensa. Watch it from Essensa's angle. Again, the Soviets are picking those corners unbelievably in this first period.
Kamensky just wired it. He had the chance. A laser beam into the top corner. And a big shot to sagging Canadian hopes. 3-0 for the Soviets. Kamensky with the power play goal at 12:36.
That puck has eyes for the Soviets today. Tatarinov's shot and Kamensky's shot were absolutely perfect.
The Soviets out shooting Canada 9-2 at this stage of the game. A shooting percentage of 33% you'd be happy with.
Team Canada has had a history in this tournament of getting off to slow starts.
Lidster in around the boards. Tockett, Fleury, and Craven out there for Team Canada. Try to shake things up. And that is Fleury, who was decked over along the boards. And looked as though there will be a penalty called against the Soviets. High sticking.
It is high sticking, and it is going to number 21, Semak. Watch right along the boards. Semak ends up getting his stick up high and injuring Theron Fleury. Fleury went down hard.
So Semak, who was one of the best face-off men in the Soviet team, will cool his heels for a couple of minutes for high sticking. And Canada with its first chance in the power play.
Semak was actually a surprise addition to this team. He has been playing on their B team and in fact was in Canada playing at the Atlantic Cup.
And he was probably their best player at the Atlantic Cup. Canada on the power play. Yzerman to the line. Coffey with a shot. Bellows. Back to Coffey. To McInnes. Bouncing it through. Bellows going to the net. Back to Yzerman. To Bellows. Adams is in front. Here's Coffey. McInnes shoots, partially blocked. Adams with a shot. That's blocked too. Yzerman after it. Back to Bellows. Erbe with the poke check. You saw that didn't work. Bellows works it in. Yzerman. Here's Coffey back at the point. 1:10 left in the power play. Knocked away from Coffey. Fedorov breaking in. Essenza on the goal line. It's in. A short-handed goal by Fedorov.
Paul Coffey gave up the puck in the offensive zone at the blue line. Watch this. He tries to take it off the boards. His wrist is obviously bothering him. He gave up the puck. Now watch this puck, though. Watch it carefully. Essenza made the save. Now a bounce, and it came right along the goal line. We'll see it better from this angle. Hey, this is going to be a perfect angle to watch it. Watch when it comes down. There it is, right along the red line until it hits the post and then goes over the goal line.
Painfully slow. 14:04, the time of the goal by Fedorov. A short-handed goal. Canada still with 49 seconds to go on the power play. And the Soviets with a 4-0 lead.
What a killer goal that one was.
Michel Petit in back of his own net. 40 seconds to go on the man advantage. Craven lifting it in. Talk it up to forecheck. McCowan pitching well in from the point.
This, folks, is the same team, the Soviet team, that Team Canada played a 3-3 tie against in the preliminary round and probably should have beaten had they not had to kill off 8 power play attempts by the Soviets.
Petit, long shot. And that will do it for the Canadian man advantage. 5 seconds left.
Some folks wondered whether or not the Soviets were playing possum in the preliminary round, playing just well enough to get in. They sure have surprised both the Swedes and now in the early going, Team Canada.
They are leading here 4-0. We played 15-10. We'll have more from the World Hockey Championships after this.
Well, he's always asking me things, because Mom's really good, but she's not into boy things. You know, football or racing cars. And, like, he looks up to me. And he expects me to know everything because I'm his big brother. And the trouble is, sometimes I don't know either. And I wish I had somebody to help me.
Be a big brother. Be someone to look up to. Call today.
Kirk McLean with a goals against average of 3 coming over the boards into this game. Bob Essenza lasting 10 shots, giving up 4 goals. Komatov to Kamensky. He's tied up, continues to plug up the front of the net by McLean. Here's Bykov. Slips the noose. Burr took a run at him, and Bykov just danced out of the way. Kamensky to Homatov. Tried to center it up the side of the goal. McLean will hang on.
Oh, the Soviets are playing a very confident game. They're taking the body. They're gaining possession of the puck. And a dejected Bob Essenza.
Giving up 4 goals and 10 shots, as I mentioned, but don't hang that millstone on him. He didn't get a lot of help. And a couple of those shots, boy.
No question that Tatarinov and Kamensky's shot were excellent shots. Fedorov, he should have been able to get more of it than he did. Bykov's was somewhat questionable. But Team Canada have not played well in front of Bob Essenza in this first period. Now they'll have to do so in front of McLean.
Kravchuk with a shot and Kirk McLean with the stop.
So Dave King making the change for more reasons than just getting Kirk McLean back into it. He's trying to get something going for Team Canada.
A tough shot to see, and McLean stretching out. Team Canada down 4-0. Bellows trying to go all the way. Not much success. Davidov comes in. Davidov playing injured, but looking none the worse for wear. Davidov, top of the slot, gets it back. Semak tried to tee it up. Never really quite got a good grip on it. And a slashing penalty coming up against Al McInnes of Team Canada. That was back behind the play. And once again, the Soviets will go to work on the man advantage.
Not a good penalty at all, Paul. Any penalty that's behind the play like that, that's a retaliation penalty, those are the ones that cost you the most.
So McInnes off for slashing at 16:23. The Soviets already with one power play goal and a shorthanded goal amongst the 4 they've put past Team Canada already. And the question now is get out of the first period with as little damage as possible being done.
Well, you start worrying now about being embarrassed.
Yeah, could get ugly. Makarov in deep. Just trailing Lidster along the boards. Fryakin with Makarov in front. Fryakin, backhand shot right through the crease, and Makarov was tied up by Jamie McCowan. Couldn't get his stick on it. Fedosov working against Tocchet. McCowan comes in and gives the facial massage to Dmitry Kristich. And speaking of getting ugly,
McCowan and Kristich going at it right along the boards, right in front of Team Canada's bench. It was Tocchet that was down first of all. Kristich fell on top of him, and McCowan didn't like that the least bit. Something you don't see a great deal of. Players wailing away at each other with their fisticuffs in international play here at the World Championships, but McCowan and Kristich chose to be the exceptions. Tocchet got himself involved in it as well, which is a dangerous move.
Well, Kristich and McCowan both picking up offsetting penalties.
Couple of double minors to both Kristich and McCowan.
So now, of course, with international rules, the penalties aren't offsetting, and it'll be a 4-on-3 man advantage for the Soviets. Green, Lidster, and Acton out there for Team Canada to try to weather this storm, and it should be a rather lively one if the previous 17 minutes of this game are any indication.
Very dangerous when the Soviets have got that much ice to work against in your own zone. 4-on-3, but the Canadians played them well in this situation in the preliminary rounds. But folks, this is not the preliminary round. This is what gold medals are all about.
Fedosov to Makarov. Fryakin's out there. Tatarinov to Fedosov. Tatarinov shoots. McLean to stop.
That puck was still rolling. Kirk McLean did not have possession of it. But Dag Olsen decided he had lost sight of it, so he whistled it down.
And again, Tatarinov with that big shot from the blue line. Maybe the Soviet answer to Al McInnes.
Hey, it's great to play a good, tight, disciplined triangle right now against the Soviets and take away that slot. But at the same time, you can't let Tatarinov shoot.
Still 56 seconds left in the 4-on-3 man advantage for the Soviets. Gilmore with Lidster and Green, the threesome on the ice. Tatarinov to Makarov. Back to Fryakin. Tatarinov again, this time a wrist shot. decided to mix it up a little. Doesn't want to take a slap shot all the time. And Lidster just let that go, knowing that the last thing he needed to do was get caught up ice. Makarov back in. 24 seconds left in the 4-on-3. Tatarinov shoots off the boards and onto the mesh. Makarov knocks it loose. Rick Green gets the job done. Gilmore picks it up one-on-one against Fedosov. And he will do the judicious thing and just head back the other way and eat up seconds. And the team's back at even strength. Paul Coffey up ahead to Bellows. Bellows shooting. Edelbey with the stop. And Malahov clears it up around the boards. Kept in. McInnes trying to fire one. Knocked down. Bellows up to forecheck. Trying to grind it loose. Here's Yzerman. Yzerman centers it in front. Bellows looking for it. There's Coffey. Coffey picks it up in the corner now, being shattered by Malahov. Back to Bellows. Centers it. Yzerman just wide. Komatov clearing it out. Less than a minute to go in the period.
Well, this is the line as well as the defense that have got to do it for Team Canada. They've got to get some spark going for this club, even if it is the last minute of the period.
Yzerman after it in the corner. He and Konstantinov bumping. Bikov picks it up and clears it outside the blue line. Tocchet. Here's Coffey. Up to Tocchet. Coming in with Yzerman. Edelbey out of his net, and he will just clear it out to center with 30 seconds left in the period. Coffey shoots. Blocked at the defense. Here's McInnes shooting off the boards. Kravchuk gets it up and around with 15 seconds to go in the period. Bure with a shot just off the side of the net.
All the attention was back in the Soviet end zone where Stevie Yzerman had been dumped by the Soviet defenseman.
2 seconds left. McInnes with the shot, and time runs out.
Well, we mentioned earlier, folks, if Team Canada are going to save themselves from a big embarrassment, then they've got to play a heck of an upcoming 2 periods. And Yzerman, Bellows, and Paul Coffey and Al McInnes have got to be the 4 players to lead it for them.
Team Canada outshot in the first period by a margin of 13-3 and outscored 4-0. The picture not a pretty one. Tatarinov scoring a minute 40 in, and it was downhill all the way from there for Team Canada. Our first intermission on deck right after this.
The same procedure is valid for
Watch this. Hello, my name is James, and I'll be looking after you for this fill-up. If you'll direct your attention to the pumps, we have an excellent Esso Supreme, our best. Esso Regular, of course, but may I suggest something in the middle? New Esso Extra mid-grade unleaded with more octane and cleaning additives than regular.
Try our new Esso menu.
Cute. I get back to work. Do they take reservations?
If you hang out with Canada's top builders, you'll see they rely on Makita high-torque tools. Corded or cordless tools, Makita's got the torque to power its way through anything. And with over 100 service centers, you'll never get caught with your tools down. Skyscraper or treehouse, Makita makes it easy. Makita, more power to you.
Ever try to follow all the action from the major leagues? Miss anything? Well, there's an answer. TSN has all the week's highlights, plus features and comments with the people who make it all happen. Monday's the baseball show, Blue Jays edition, keeps tabs on the American League as we follow the Jays at home and on the road. Tuesdays, the Expos edition is your ticket to the National League with the past Expo Week review. Don't miss any of the Major League action on the baseball show here on TSN.
Welcome back to our TSN Control Center in Toronto. I'm Jim Van Horn along with Sean Burke. Canada trailing the Soviets 4-0 after 1. You know, a lot of European players are now coming over to North America to play hockey, but the trend is going the opposite way as well. Canadians are going over there, as Paul and Gary talked about yesterday while touring around Bern.
Well, an off day at the World Hockey Championships, and time for Greener and I to head to the hills and plop ourselves amidst some of the most gorgeous scenery I've seen in a long time. We are in Interlaken, Switzerland in the off day. I can see why a lot of guys would like to come over here and play hockey.
Yeah, it's really tough to take, isn't it? I mean, you're waiting for me, Romy, to break out in a little tune of "The Hills Are Alive" with the sound of music, but the hills are alive.
Heard him sing.
The hills are alive, all right. They're alive with hockey players, and I mean, you look at the number of players that are being lured over here from North America, the players that have finished their careers in the National Hockey League that want to come over here. You can understand why. But for a lot of players, they also want to come home to Europe to play. The players that are from Sweden, and whether or not they go back to Sweden to play or whether or not they come here to play in Switzerland, it's a great opportunity for them to extend their professional playing careers. You look at the teams that are over here playing in the elite division. They play a 40-game schedule, maybe about 2 games a week at the most. They've got a pretty good way of life.
A little bit different from North America with a couple of games a week. Now, Gary used to work in a business where he helped to place guys over here in Europe to play hockey. What kind of things did guys really come back and talk to you about that really appealed to them, other than the obvious, which is the gorgeous scenery?
Well, again, the schedule has an awful lot to do with them wanting to play here. The money's pretty good for a lot of the players, especially the better players, the players that suit European hockey. Rayo Ruotsalainen is a perfect example. He may not be a really high-paid National Hockey League player, but he can make maybe $250,000 US, Paul, playing here in Bern, Switzerland. That's after apartment and car and everything else is paid for.
Be tough to take. The scenery's never tough to take. The lifestyle is something we'd like to talk a little bit more about. I notice, looking at the 2 glasses, Greener, you're drinking yours a little bit more quickly than I'm drinking mine. The lifestyle is something that's very appealing over here, but it's also something that's very expensive. You can pay up to $10-12 Canadian for a beer. It costs a lot to live over here.
Well, interesting, though, how they lure their players over here from North America and from other countries as well. The Soviets are coming to Switzerland now to play hockey, as in the case of Bykov and Malahov. But what they're doing is they're paying them a fair amount of money, but that's after tax dollars. They pay all the taxes for them. They also provide them with a great apartment. They also give them a car, their insurance. Oftentimes they get a living allowance as well that covers their meals and their beer.
Sounds like a great place for you. The outdoor cafes, the mountains, the scenery. It's something that appeals to the families of a lot of players as much as the players themselves. Yeah, you know, kind of one of those tough choices to make in life, I guess. I mean, do I play 3 games every 2 weeks and spend lots of time with my family, or do I play 80 games a year and not see my family much?
Why do you think Bob Gainey, for example, ended up coming over and playing in France this past year? It wasn't for the money, it wasn't just for the scenery, and it certainly wasn't for the quality of hockey.
Was it for the beer?
It wasn't for the beer either, I'll tell you. What it was for, though, was the opportunity to spend some real quality time with his wife and with his kids. Kind of a catch-up after having played over 15 years in the National Hockey League and the grinding pace that you end up having to go through and endure over that period of time.
Kind of a nice ease into retirement.
No question about it. And speaking of ease into retirement, yours and my day is over, Paul, and it's time that we go back.
It's time that we retired back to the rig through the magic of videotape. We'll get back to watch some more hockey, and we'll send you back to good old Jim Van Horn and Sean Burke.
Back to the grinds of the World Championship.
I don't know which one looks more like Mary Poppins. Is it Gary Green or Paul Romanek? But there is definitely a resemblance there. Is it a consideration, Sean, on your part that you would ever go over to Europe and play if the opportunity presented itself?
Well, Jim, for goaltenders, it's not the same opportunity. Most of those teams are going to import forwards before the goaltenders. But if the opportunity is there later in my career, it is definitely an attractive one because, like you say, you know, the money is good and the lifestyle is great.
Yeah, the lifestyle. Boy, that really certainly does have a lot to be said for it. We'll take a break and come back with some highlights of that first period of play as our live coverage of the World Hockey Championships continue right after this.
Kenny Rogers headlines Quality Records' #1 country love songs of the 80s. An incredible double album collection featuring Ronnie Millsap.
Happy, happy birthday, baby.
Every song in this collector's edition hit #1 in the 80s.
Love me like you used to.
Feels so right. It's such a small world.
#1 country love songs of the 80s is only available in this special offer, and all you have to do is call 1-800-COUNTRY.
Mama, he's crazy.
From country's perennial duo of the year to the CMA's male vocalist of 1989.
I'll leave this world. I have loved you, girl.
24 solid gold country hits.
Tomorrow.
#1 country love songs of the 80s. The best album of its kind from Quality Records. Order yours right now.
Visa MasterCard COD charges, call 1-800-COUNTRY or save COD charges by sending $14.98 for LPs or cassette or $19.98 for compact disc plus $3.50 postage and handling to Country Love Songs, Department number 141, 115 Scarsdale Road, Don Mills, Ontario. That's Country Love Songs, Department number 141, 115 Scarsdale Road, Don Mills, Ontario. Call now. Operators are standing by. Remember, this offer could end without notice, so call 1-800-COUNTRY.
A disastrous first period for Team Canada. They are trailing the Soviet Union 4-0 in their second medal round game. They lost the first game as well to Team Czechoslovakia. Sean Burke, we're going to take a look at some highlights. First goal we're going to take a look at is by Mikhail Tatarinov, and it was a big shot, something that you've talked about in the past.
Well, Canada gets in trouble right off the bat here by losing the face-off, and Tatarinov, you know, he has a chance to walk in, have all kinds of time to use his shot, and he makes just a great shot, putting it right under the bar.
You talk about a hard shot and a heavy shot. Does he have a hard shot or a heavy shot, and what's the difference?
Well, I think his shot is heavy. You know, it doesn't look like it's coming as fast as it does, but it gets on you very quickly, and it's very tough for goaltenders.
Vyacheslav Bykov combined with line mates Kamensky and Komutov to score the second Soviet goal, and this was a pretty passing play.
Well, here's where the extra room behind the net really comes into play, and you know, there's a lot of time here to make a pass, and Bykov gets it on his stick and lets it go, and Essenza really has no chance on that one.
You know, they talked about a couple of shaky goals that Bob Essenza allowed, but you really cannot blame him because the team in front of him did not play well in that first 20 minutes.
Well, the Soviets really came to play today, and you could see there right from the start. They were skating, they had their legs, and when you're out shooting a team 13-3 in the first period, you know that you're in trouble.
If there was a killer, it was probably the shorthanded goal that was scored at the 14:04 mark by Sergei Fedorov, and it was a goal that just managed to break over the line. It was a good individual effort on his part.
It was. Coffey can't hold it in here, and Fedorov breaks in all alone. You know, he has the presence of mind to hold on to it, and even though he's being checked, he gets his shot away. It just happens to dribble over the line on Essenza.
Certainly you have to be impressed with the transition play of the Soviets. They go from defense to offense so very, very quickly.
Well, they do, and you really have to realize that when you're in the offensive zone, as soon as that puck's turned over, you have to go on defense. And a couple times in that period, Canada turned it over, but was slow reacting, and the Soviets were breaking out with outnumbered situations.
All right, Sean, thanks very much. Official shots on goal in that first period, 13-3 in favor of the Soviets. They probably had a few more than that. We'll have the second period, Canada trailing the Soviets 4-0 after one. Back to Byrne in a moment.
It's an event just being here. Skydome, the world's greatest entertainment center.
So I head down to La Bar, say hi to the guys, check out La Band. They're playing La Bamba. When across the room I spot La Goddess, and she's giving me La Look. So I offer her La Cheese Doodle. She orders this La Beers, and I'm thinking, this is good, because La Beer is Labatt's dry.
Take a good day, make a better day. Take a little dream, make it grow. Take above and beyond where the sky is blue. With each thing that you do, rise
Above and beyond. That's the Air Canada way.
The thunder of thoroughbred horsepower is unleashed at the running of the Kentucky Oaks. The speed, the power, the tradition. The Kentucky Oaks live Friday at 6 Eastern and only on TSN.
Goals by Tatarinov, Bykov, Kamensky, and Fedorov have given the Soviets a 4-0 lead over Team Canada. Second period about to get underway. Canada looking for a quick goal. Here's Paul and Gary.
You talked to Dave King before the game. Did the club come even close to following the game plan that he told you about beforehand?
No, they sure didn't. But forget about the game plan right now, folks. Let's just take a look at 4 simple parts of the game of hockey. Skating, shooting, passing, and hitting. And in all those departments, Team Canada did not a thing about. When you look at their skating game, they weren't playing a skating game. They were back on their heels. When you look at passing, hey, they were playing solo hockey. They were trying to carry the puck in themselves out there. Shooting, 4 shots. That's all they got out there tonight. Hits, not any that were good hits. A couple that sent them to the penalty box.
You look at some of the guys who did big things during the round robin. They've done nothing in the medal round. Even Steve Yzerman has really struggled in the medal round.
They lost against Czechoslovakia for a simple reason. That if you don't have Brian Bellows, Steve Yzerman, Paul Coffey, Al McInnes, and great goaltending, there's no chance you're going to win. I don't care whether it's in international hockey or whether it's in a regular Stanley Cup game or in the regular 80-game season. You've got to have your best performers playing at their best, and at this level, it doesn't change.
Some of the guys really dragging their rear ends right now. The guys who've been over since their team was beaten out or since their team didn't even make the playoffs, they're really feeling the 3.5 weeks or so they've been away from home. No jump out there at all.
Well, all of these teams here have been away from home for the last 3 weeks as well, so they all are on even keel in that regards.
Canada outshot in the first period 13-4. They're down 4-0. Here are Jim Van Horn and Sean Burke.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. The second period is about to get underway, and when we come back, we'll take you back to Bern for the opening faceoff.
How was your trip?
Long. Here, I bought you something new.
Intimate? It's a mouthwash.
Not just any mouthwash. You know how you're always complaining how mouthwash burns? Try this.
That's refreshing. Intimate, smooth, and it doesn't burn.
Fresh. My kind of mouthwash.
Now there's a new scope. New Intimate, the new smooth power of scope.
So what other delights did you bring?
Me.
Good morning, Canada! Coast to coast, it's wake-up time!
Head in the morning, head for the coast, dive into oceans of lather, a scent to love the most. Get your body in motion like a plunge in the ocean. Coast refreshes most, head for the coast.
Wakes you up like ocean spray.
Head for the coast.
Underneath all those delicious pizza toppings lies the secret of McCain Croissant Pizza.
You gonna finish that last piece of crust? If you let me have it, I'll double your allowance. How about a new stereo for that last bite of crust? What a guy.
McCain Croissant Pizza, with the crust nobody leaves behind.
Soviets got 2 even-handed goals, a short-handed goal, and a power play goal. They lead Team Canada by a score of 4-0. Shots on goal 13-4 in favor of the Soviets. Second period's underway. Here's Paul and Gary.
Artur Irbe only faced 4 shots in the first period. The best scoring chance was when Steve Yzerman took a pass in front and fired it wide of an open net. And that about summed up the first period effort of Team Canada. It was way wide. Period starting with Dmitry Kristich and Jamie McCowan in the penalty box, offsetting penalties, so the team's at even strength. And Team Canada down by a score of 4-0. And the puck popping up there and hitting Andrei Homatov. And that caught him right under the visor and right on the mouth by the looks of it.
Paul Coffey was trying to flip that puck out so it would lay in the neutral zone. Now watch, when he gets possession of it right here, he's going to flip it high, trying to flip it over. Didn't work. Komatov was hit squarely in the face, and he's going to the Soviet bench right now.
And I'll take a wild guess and say he may be cut for some stitches. You could see the blood dripping down from, looked like his forehead or his nose as he headed over to the bench. And that's a pretty good look at it.
Well, as close up as you're going to get.
But not as close up as Homatov saw it. A little too close.
4-on-4 right now for Team Canada. And Yzerman, of course, out there leading the way, along with Bellows, and the 4 players that we had mentioned to you were all on the ice for the first shift.
4-on-4 for the next 33 seconds. Coffey over skating it. Kaminsky in over the blue line. Shoots. Up around the boards. Davidov. And the puck snuck outside the blue line. 22 seconds to go in the 4-on-4 situation. We're just underway in the second period. Canada down 4-0.
Paul Coffey back in the blue line has got to turn up the cranks here. I mean, he's got to get wheeling with that puck. He's a great offensive defenseman. We've seen that through his National Hockey League play. He led the National Hockey League again this year for defensemen in scoring. But he's got to do it in this game tonight, because if he just sits back and plays defense, then Paul Coffey is not a good defensive defenseman. In fact, he can be a liability to you out there if he's thinking defensively.
Coffey going after it. Just beaten Nemchinov up forechecking for the Soviets. Semak out for Nemchinov, missed him, and here comes Al McInnes to Fleury. And Irbe will have no problem handling shots from that range. Team's back at 5-on-5. Fedosov checked by Tocchet. And Davidov hopped up over the boards there as the puck was coming across, so offside called on the Soviets. Just a reminder to listen up at the conclusion of this game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Apple Auto Glass.
Apple Auto Glass, the pick of the crop.
Before it spreads and really costs you, get Apple's guaranteed stone chip windshield repairs. Just call
Apple Auto Glass,
the pick of the crop.
So, Gary, at what stage, if you're coaching, do you start to send in the 4th man and really start to press offensively?
Now, there's no question. Down by 4 goals right now, you're not gonna come back against the Soviets unless you start throwing 3 men in there and sometimes that 4th man in for the attack.
So we can look maybe for a lot of 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s. Right in front. And the referee, Dag Olsen, waving it off. A couple of the Canadian players, Doug Lidster, protesting the most vehemently. He had signaled a goal. Fleury thinks it was in. I don't think you'll be able to tell from this high.
You tell me where the puck is, folks. I don't know. The goal judge did not put on the light, but he probably couldn't see it. Let's look at it from the goal judge's angle. You know something? You got to think that puck is over the goal line. Look at where Irbe is. I mean, he couldn't get any further back into the net. Theron Fleury was in there. He continued to raise his arms. He felt that he knew exactly where that puck was. Well, look at it. There's no question that that puck, which had originally been under Irbe, has got to be in, because Irbe hasn't got one part of his body that is on the onside part of the goal line.
That was Rick Tocchet storming the crease, and he thought it had gone in as well. But who cares what all the players thought? It's no goal. Craven checked in the play. And Fedorov clears it out. Rick Green. Fleury will hurry back. Bure overskates it. Nice move by Bure to pull it loose. Lidster. Pass behind Craven, heads all the way down. Kravchuk. The Gusarev. Bure. Fedorov steps in, fakes a shot. Almost walked in past McInnes. Biakin has it knocked away. Gilmore with Acton. Acton! There's a shot! And Cullen almost found the net. Cullen along the boards, tied up, and Bure will start back.
We'll see a lot more of Cullen in this second and third period.
Bure steps in over the line, back behind the play. A penalty coming up against the Soviets. And that was way back behind the play. And Vladimir Konstantinov pulled the skates out.
I'll tell you what Keith Acton did. Dag Olsen did not see that. And so what Acton did was that he, after he had been dumped, he continued to slap his stick on the ice to catch Dag Olsen's attention. Olsen turned around and saw that Acton was down, gave him the penalty to Konstantinov.
Well, Konstantinov gets called for interference at 2:37.
Good play by Keith Acton. That's how you gain the referee's attention.
Well, the play of a veteran for sure. He'd know all the tricks by this stage of his career.
Yeah, no question about that.
And Canada will need to reach deep into its bag of tricks, down 4-0 early in the second period. Yzerman being watched by Makarov. Bellows hops past him. Adams lumbering into the corner to Forchek. He's outnumbered, and Fedosov gets it out. McInnes. And again, Fedosov gets there first. Yzerman up along with Adams. Here's Bellows. Around Tatarinov, up around the boards. McInnes pinching well in. Keeps it in. Here's Bellows now. Back to Yzerman. Works it right in front. And Adams couldn't get a handle on it. Paul Coffey in well along the boards. Trying to work it in front. Intercepted. And the Soviets quickly turn it around. Makarov gets it out to center. Tatarinov. Content just to dump it in with Canada on the power play. 1 minute to go in the man advantage for Team Canada. Soviets up 4-0. Bellows had it behind him. .45 seconds to go in the power play. Al McInnes. Talk it up to Forchek along with Craven. And Gilmore, puck knocked loose. 3 Canadians caught back behind the Soviet net. And Bykov out to center. 1-on-2. Bykov waiting for Kamensky to catch up. 24 seconds to go in the power play for Team Canada. Tocchet lets it go for Gilmore. Off his skate, and Bykov works it out. Here comes Kamensky. Nine seconds left in the power play. Kamensky tied up, couldn't quite get the shot away. Gilmore back for Canada. Penalized player back on. The team's at even strength. Canada trailing the Soviets 4-0. We played 4 minutes and 40 seconds of the second period. And icing called on the Soviets. It is 4-0 the Soviets leading Team Canada. Will have more from the World Hockey Championships after this.
The first one was made for the son of a fellow employee. We put our experience together and came up with the mechanical wrist.
Before, there's no way you could play hockey. You need something more flexible.
We've made 15 since 1981, and it's been a great feeling seeing those kids playing hockey.
Roger, Emile, and Ray are just 3 of our over 48,000 Noranda employees whose dedication does us proud.
Who says you can't have a good wrist shot when you don't have a wrist?
Craven, Sutter, and Burr out there for Team Canada. And Cullen out there. Puck cleared down. Around the boards. And the Soviets just continue to swarm whenever they get it. Sutter tried to poke it around Malahov. That's knocked away. Lidster back out. Sutter way in deep. And the puck cleared in by Lidster, and offside called on Team Canada.
Offside. We talked earlier in this tournament about how that delayed offside is not effective here. Well, it's not used here in international play. Dave King actually does not like the NHL's version of delay offside. He thinks it's too easy for defensemen not to then realize the importance of the neutral ice area, that they just can automatically fire it in knowing that their forwards can clear the zone. He's acting in a familiar position.
Right in front of the net. Yzerman working up with Bellows. Bure moving it out. Fedorov steps in over the blue line, drops it off for Bure, shoots! Fedorov rebound, trying to chop it in. And Kirk McLean recovering his balance. Here comes Bellows. Across for Adams. Bellows up to Forchek. Fedosov gets there first. Bure picks it up. 1-on-2. Tatarinov up to join the rush. Bure trying to belt his way through. McInnes giving him a rough ride. McInnes knocked to the ice as well. Pretty good battle there. Yzerman to the line, turn back. Adams was in offside. He has to come out. Fedosov up ahead, pass a little bit behind Biakin. Fedorov losing it to McCowan. Bellows.
Soviets just playing a very patient game out there right now. This is the style that they love to play. They love to get the lead and then just sit back on it.
And Lister back there to touch this. Icing called against the Soviets. Played 6.5 minutes of the second period, and it is 4-0, the Soviets leading. And just a reminder for those of you interested, this summer an international coaching seminar, June 14th to 17th in Calgary, sponsored by the Canadian International Hockey Committee. If you're interested, then contact Hockey Canada at their offices in Calgary. Coffey with a shot, and Erbe just reaching up to the top shelf and pulling that down. And Coffey just not with the speed and the mustard on those shots you normally see. You can tell he's hurting.
Well, every time that Coffey comes to the bench, he gets that glove off, and he is shaking his hand. It's his wrist that is bothering him. It's tough to shoot.
Lister with a shot. That doesn't get anywhere near the net. Priakin right on top of him. Craven along the boards trying to poke it loose. Kristich back in behind his own net. Gusarov. Fleury up to forecheck. Knocks it down. Trying to get it in front for Tocchet. Fleury centers it. Craven a shot. And Erbe with the stop. Best chance of the period for Canada. And Craven stoned from close by Arthur Erbe. Tocchet. And back behind the play. Craven down on the ice along with Igor Kravchuk.
The Soviet players have some injuries, but Team Canada are rather plagued by them right now. We've got Tocchet and Craven and Coffey who all have hand injuries. Brian Bellows has got a bad groin injury that really isn't too fun to skate with. At the same time, I think when you look at a lot of the players right now, that they are suffering some nagging injuries that they've carried over from either their Stanley Cup first-round playoffs or the end of the season. So, with all that said and done, Team Canada haven't got an easy time of that. But as their assistant coach Mike Murphy said, hey, you can bet the Soviets are bumped up as well.
I was just going to say, you know that every other team in the medal round is hurting too. Here's Acton. Konstantinov. Gilmore picks it up in the corner. Nobody in front for him to go to. He's trying to bide some time. Petit is there now. Gilmore, great effort. Acton at the side of the net, tied up there by Konstantinov. And tough to penetrate down in front of that Soviet goal.
The other one I should have mentioned is Ron Sutter, who they think is playing with a broken toe. They're not even having that x-ray. There's not much you can do for a broken toe right now, other than it's painful for Ron Sutter.
Konstantinov. And Kamensky dumped. And we're going to have a penalty there by the looks of it. And over on the other side of the ice, you see Keith Acton. He collided with Konstantinov.
They've done that a few times in tonight's game. Konstantinov went way up and then just put that left hand right into Acton's head. Acton was slouching down at the time.
Team Canada trailing 4-0. We'll have more from Bern, Switzerland in a moment.
Here's how we make Mazda special editions extra special. We start with our best-selling 626 and our sporty MX-6. Then we add extras. Extras costing around $2,000 if purchased separately. And these special edition cars are priced $500 less than our lowest priced DX models. All this and the best warranty in the business. Mazda.
It just feels right.
Konstantinov off for elbowing at 17:54 and Team Canada on the power play. Al McInnes being watched by Semak back in his own end. McInnes and Coffey back in the blue line. Yzerman, Bellows, and Adams up front. Dave King continuing to go with the big guns, although the big guns have been silent. Yzerman getting there before Semak. He's knocked down. And easy pickings for Fedosov.
Yzerman's been watched pretty closely.
Had the great round robin.
See what they're doing, though, Paul? They're taking the middle of the ice away from Stevie Yzerman, and that was the area that he was so effective in the preliminary round. Now, all of a sudden, that ice, that open ice, has vanished on Yzerman.
Bellows. Gusarov gets it up around the boards and out again with 50 seconds left in the Team Canada power play. And the fans starting to whistle, not pleased with Canada's effort at all.
Soviets just doing an excellent job at clogging up the middle. Look at them right there in the blue line. All four of them. Team Canada aren't going wide. They're trying to carry it down the middle.
Here's Fleury. Back at the point. And did a good job to pick the pocket of Fedorov. Here's Makarov coming in now. Fedorov trailing. Makarov looked to get it out to him. Now centers it. Moving up there was Kravchuk. Here's Yzerman. Big chance. Scores!
Those are the type of opportunities Canada have to capitalize on. They did. Stevie Yzerman, not from a great angle, but what a great shot. He waited till Airbay went down just enough to give Yzerman that room upstairs. Watch Airbay. He really had the angle taken care of well, but watch Airbay now just dip his shoulder, his left shoulder enough for Yzerman to find some room above it. But it was the scoring opportunity that the Soviets messed up back in Canada's end zone that turned out to be the opportunity that Team Canada needed. The transition game, as Dave King talks so much about.
It is important at any level of hockey, but it is much more evident on this big ice surface. 4-1, Canada with a power play goal. Yzerman scoring at 9:46. The offensive high for Team Canada in this tournament against one of the three teams that they're playing in the medal round was 5. They managed to get 5 against the Czechs. And they will need at least 5 against the Soviets to win this one. That's providing the Soviets don't strike for another one. Kamensky coming in. Gets it across in front of the net. Bure going for the goal. He was tied up, but almost managed to get loose. Berg getting it out to center. Malahov. To Fedosov. Lidster going after it. Burr in the corner just puts it back in the net. Rick Green takes the man. The puck sitting loose and a penalty coming up against Team Canada. Sean Burr coming back.
Well, watch this. Burr comes around from behind, gets both elbows up, and if Davidoff was hurting before, he's hurting twice as much now.
Burr just rattling the fillings of Davidoff. And he picks up 2 minutes. Take your pick. Elbowing, charging.
I don't think Davidoff knows right now, after Burr hit him, whether or not he's in Bern, Switzerland, Tokyo, or he might be in Paris, France.
Well, wherever Davidoff is, Burr is in the penalty box.
That's been clearly identified.
And there's Davidoff on the bench trying to get his bearings. Burr called for charging, by the way, at 10:49. Says, yeah, I know where I am. It's all right.
Yeah, you can hear some yapping going on in the Soviet bench, too, as Davidoff waves off. He doesn't want any smelling salts or any other attention. And I'm sure the yakking on the Soviet bench is all the same universal language in a lot of ways. Hey, make them pay for that is what the Canadians would be saying. A crunching body check that resulted in a penalty for Team Canada. The Soviets hope to turn it into a power play opportunity and a power play goal.
Bykov gets it across. Kamensky couldn't play it off the boards. 1 minute and 35 seconds left in the power play for the Soviets. Bykov drops it off. Homatov Across for Bykov. It was behind him. Kaminsky up after it. Lets it go. Tatarinov. Across in front. Fedosov. To Homatov. Bykov. To Homatov again. Fedosov. Tatarinov. Looking for the perfect shot. Tatarinov doesn't see it. Into Kaminsky. 50 seconds left in the power play. Bykov. Fedosov. Back to Homatov. Are they ever going to shoot it? Tatarinov.
They'll shoot as soon as they can get Tatarinov with a good clear shot, and that's about the only time.
A slashing penalty coming up against Team Canada. The lumber was laid on Tatarinov.
And Tocchet's the guilty man. So now this really puts Team Canada in the hole further.
The Soviets worked that puck around for a minute and a half and never did shoot.
Tocchet went down, committed himself totally. Tatarinov wasn't going to be fooled by Tocchet's attempted blocked shot, but as Tatarinov moved to his left, Tocchet, even still down, was able to give a crunching smack to Tatarinov with his stick.
Right across the right hand, and Tatarinov favored it as he headed over to the bench. Looks as though he's going to stay out on the ice, however.
You know why I hope, Paul, that we never adapt the larger ice surfaces in the National Hockey League? You know, Team Canada had the momentum going for them. Yes, they took a bad penalty, but still, you can still keep that momentum going if you can get some aggressive penalty killing going out there. But with the big ice surface, that's not possible. You back off into a small, tight box. You stand around.
5-on-3. Fedosov shoots. Partially blocked, and Lidster gets it out.
I think that happens to be a very boring part of our game when you have to play a small, disciplined box without any aggressiveness.
Yeah, but a lot of people would say the skating and the puck skills are accentuated much more on the big ice surface. Tatarinov, big shot. McLean got enough of it. Kaminsky, penalized player back on. One of them anyway. Still 1:25 remaining. In a one-man advantage now for the Soviets. Kaminsky to Bykov. Shoots. McLean the stop. And Fedosov couldn't keep it in. Kaminsky. Homatov ready to wheel away, and offside called in the Soviets. I guess to look at some positives for Team Canada, if they can hold it off for the next minute and 9 seconds, kill off this Soviet power play. It's got to be a bit of a boost.
Well, then they can start fresh, and they will have the advantage going for them that they scored the last goal. They've had some momentum going for them. They got off a big check by Burr that, yes, cost them a penalty, but at the same time, it was a very aggressive penalty that he took. And so if King's team can kill off this minute and 9 seconds, then they can effectively maybe continue getting that charged up spirit going for them for the last 8 minutes of the game, or the second period, I should say. Tikhonov, on the other hand, must have been just steamed at that Canada goal, the Yzerman goal, because his team were guilty of trying to score a shorthanded goal when they had a 4-0 lead.
Makarov working it out to center. Kristich trying to get away from McInnes. Kristich gets it back in the net. 43 seconds left in the power play for the Soviets. Priakin. Kravchuk over at the line to keep it in. Priakin in front, lets it go to the line. Kravchuk with a shot. That's stopped in front.
Good save.
Comes back.
Good save by McLean.
Yzerman with McCowan going to the net. And two Canadians caught back. Kristich, Kravchuk, and on goal, McLean the stop.
Canada are gambling right now, but as long as they can get away with it, they'll get their flow going.
Kristich steps in, penalized player back on. Makarov trailing. Priakin in the corner. Makarov back to the line. Malahov shoots. Kirk McLean the stop. Makarov. Priakin now. McInnes with a bit of a hook on Priakin that's not called. And Priakin looks on in disbelief as he gets up from the ice.
And he falls to the ice to try to emphasize the point. Priakin, I think, was also guilty of hanging on to McInnes' stick.
Here comes Tocchet in with Craven. Tocchet dropped it off. Intercepted. Bore read it beautifully. Flies back and shoots. That bounces wide into the corner. Pavel Bure knew exactly what was going to happen. Tocchet let the drop pass go, and boom, Bure was there. Icing called on Team Canada. Canada trailing by a score of 4-1. You are watching the World Hockey Championships on TSN.
New Esso Protec engine oil with LXT. More stable, flows faster to help protect your engine even in extreme heat or cold.
Hoods up, 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 for Protec.
Esso Protec. Don't wait until your car demands it.
Craven, Tocchet, and Fleury up front for Team Canada. Paul Coffey knocks it in around back of the net. Malahov after it. Tocchet up to forecheck. Trying to chop it loose. Bure. Craven. Ahead for Fleury.
That's better. Canada's got some forechecking going now. They're taking the body and cleanly.
Taking the body and starting to hop a little bit. But still a 3-goal deficit staring down unforgivingly from the clock.
But when we went to commercial, the players on Team Canada's bench were all yelling, let's just get one more before this period ends.
Biakin to Bure. Here's Fedosov.
They're not going to get one more playing like that.
Ilya Biakin stick-handled in, stopped in a dime right in front of the net, and was giving Paul Coffey fits. And Fedosov came right up to join the rush.
Just goes to show you how much skill all of their players have. Biakin is more of a defensive forward than anything. In fact, he plays defense or forward for this team. He also likes the physical play. Fedosov has fit in quite easily back with his former teammates, as has Makarov. Larionov from the Vancouver Canucks was not invited to play for Tikhonov. That shouldn't surprise anyone. Not because of Larionov's play, but Tikhonov and Larionov do not get along at all.
Davidov. Nemchinov going for the net, given a bump, puck knocked away. Acton, one-on-one. Here's Cullen into Acton, tried to bank it in front. It's on the mesh. And Acton given the late bump after the whistle by Fedosov, and everybody will come in. And
Gilmore got his elbows up, and that is dangerous right now. Team Canada have to stay away from penalties. Keith Acton went to the side of the net. He was trying to go to the front of the net with that puck. Seamack was back there and then got crunched by both Gilmore and Acton. Acton was trying desperately to get that puck off the back of the net before a whistle.
Acton, one of those guys who was there with the great effort every time.
There's that punch that Gilmore threw. That's not good discipline right now. Take the body, as Team Canada did on that last shift, with some good solid body checks that created turnovers of the puck. But don't get your elbows up or don't take foolish penalties like Gilmore could have had.
You just wish for Acton's sake he had a little bit more of a touch around the net.
He used to, but he got slotted into that defensive center iceman role a great deal.
Yzerman. Bellows swinging for the net, so's Adams. Adams set to tee it up and had it picked away by Bykov. Kamensky to Bykov. To Kamensky. Centers it in front. McLean keeps it in play. 2 minutes and 45 seconds to play in the period. Canada down by a score of 4-1. Here comes Greg Adams to Yzerman. Bellows up there too. McCowan. Bellows centers it in front. Adams couldn't pull the trigger. Krevchuk back for the Soviets, in with Priakin, shoots. Priakin in after the rebound, and it's just cleared away.
McInnes got rid of that puck just in time.
Here comes Adams shooting. Tocchet plays it off the boards. Coffey. And Etabay is just going to hang on and settle things down. Canada with a bit of spark. But again, that transition game, the Soviets with a great chance coming off of a good chance for Team Canada.
Back and forth. That's what happens when one team gets a scoring opportunity. Then you'll oftentimes see the other team come right back with just as good a scoring chance. You see Brian Bellows took a good whack in the back of the head from the Soviet player, and you can tell that one hurt.
McInnes had it pulled away by Pryakin. Just under 2 minutes to go in the period. Team Canada trailing the Soviets 4-1. Rick Tocchet centers it right in front. Bouncing puck. Craven's tied up. Tocchet after it. Takes his man down, and back come the Soviets 2-on-1. Malahov to Makarov. Offside. It's getting a little more entertaining for the fans.
2-on-1, and the Soviets go offside. Now Tikhonov will once again blow his cool on the bench. That's not something that the Soviets ever do. Malahov was the player that was guilty coming up on that left wing side. He's a defenseman that went offside.
We played 18:22 of the second period. The Soviets up 4-1. The Soviets scoring all 4 of their goals in the first period, in the first 15 minutes of the first period for that matter. Team Canada's only goal coming at 9:46 of this second period. Steve Yzerman got it on a power play. And speaking of Theron Fleury, don't forget the World Junior Hockey Championships coming up. They will be on TSN for the first time this coming December from the 26th to January the 4th. Tickets are going rapidly, I am told.
That'll be a great tournament, and the people from Saskatoon, as usual, will turn out in droves to support it.
Biakin drops it off. A minute and a half to go in the period. Fedorov. Fedorov ahead for Bure, and again the Soviets called on the offside.
Pavel Bure was Vancouver's 6th draft choice in '89.
And Bure still has a year of junior eligibility left, so he will be at those World Junior Hockey Championships in Saskatoon in all likelihood. Think of that. Here's a guy playing so well at this world-class level, and he's going to be back at the World Junior Championships. A lot of depth still on the Soviet roster, despite some of their great players heading over to North America.
Well, let's remember, though, that the Soviets still have an opportunity to select all of their best players from the Soviet Elite League, as well as they've picked up Fedosov and Makarov coming back. But I would say, as well as Pryakin, helps their team a great deal. I mean, they've been crying the blues somewhat of having a lesser team than in the past, but that shouldn't be for anyone's fault but their own. Yet, when you look at the Soviet Elite League, only 3 out of their top 10 scorers are playing on this team. Some think it's a little biased towards Red Army, and their coach, Viktor Tikhonov, of course, is the coach of Red Army.
You know, Bure started to play in the Elite League in the Soviet Union when he was 17 years old. 17. Can you think of any 17-year-olds who played in the NHL? Here's Bure. In deep. Slips the check. McInnes trying to chop it away. And Bure is going to take a penalty. Delayed penalty in the Soviets. Team Canada get the goaltender out and the extra attacker on with 30 seconds to go in the period. Here's Sutter. Checked on the play, and that'll get the whistle as the puck is touched with 29 seconds to go in the period. The guy we've been talking so much about, Pavel Bure, takes a holding penalty.
There it is. He's got his arms up trying to explain to the referee, Dag Olsen, that he shouldn't get a penalty, but I think that's pretty obvious that he deserves one. Pavel Bure was the star in both the 89 and 90 World Juniors. He's the son of a former Olympic swimming star, Vladimir Bure, from the Soviet Union.
Boré off for holding at 19:31. Canada down 4-1. And its only goal in this game coming in the power play. Steve Yzerman got it. And Yzerman out there now. Coffey and McInnes back at the blue line.
This is a big draw. 29 seconds remaining. And on the power play, Team Canada have got their chance right here. Maybe their best chance to score before this period ends.
McInnes comes up to get it. Bellows back to Coffey, anticipated well and poked away by Bikov, who races down to get it. 15 seconds left in the period. Here's Yzerman. 10 seconds left. And Canada's power play will have to carry over into the third period. They won't get another shot. 2 seconds left.
You saw that last time, that when Bikov went down the ice with it, he could have gone for the scoring opportunity, had Nemchinov with him, but he decided to turn right around. When they've got a comfortable 4-1 lead, they're not going to take any more chances shorthanded.
The score through 2, the Soviets 4 and Team Canada 1. Our second intermission is next.
With your hands and your heart, with your dreams and with your pride, with each thing that you do, take above and beyond where the sky is blue. With each thing that you do, rise above.
Above and beyond. That's the Air Canada way. Our new look for the 90s came to us in a flash. The look is new, the taste is true blue. The next time you pour yourself a blue, you won't believe your eyes. The look is new, the taste is true blue.
All the action is at home when Blue Jays baseball steps to the plate on TSN. Join Jim Houston and Buck Martinez with the play-by-play as TSN covers the excitement of 60 regular season games. TSN follows the Jays on the road as Cleveland battles Toronto. It's Blue Jays baseball, the Jays and the Indians live Monday at 7:30 Eastern. Look for television's best baseball schedule here on TSN.
Team Canada getting 1 goal on the power play by Steve Yzerman. They now trail 4-1 to the Soviets. Paul Romanek recently spent some time with Rick Tocchet of the Philadelphia Flyers as he talks about life in hockey in Europe.
Well, I guess somebody had to do it. It's not exactly beautiful spring weather, but we thought we'd sit outside and have a coffee anyways and take advantage of the scenery. Rick Tocchet joining us. And before we talk a little bit about hockey, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your impressions of coming to Europe. You told me a great story about flying over Germany and looking down and seeing the Berlin Wall. That must have been pretty wild.
Yeah, it was funny. We were all on the plane and all the guys were like popping their heads out to see the difference between East and West Berlin. And it was amazing how, one side looked green and bright and the other side it was gray, and we got a chance to see the wall and the different people. It was a very interesting trip.
Rick, does it surprise you what a big deal the World Championships are? Because, you're a North American, a Canadian. The Stanley Cup is the big focus at this time of year, and this has always been looked at as almost a consolation prize.
Yeah, it's tough. You're playing in this, and it's really tough to get geared up for the medal rounds because you're looking back in the paper, reading the Stanley Cup playoff summaries, and wishing you were there. But as the tournament gets closer to the end, and you see the fans, they're sold out to see us play. You start to get that itch.
You get the feeling Canada's almost the home team. The crowd was surely for you against the Soviets.
Yeah, Dave King told us the West Germans would be the first draw here, and then we'd probably be the second for fan support. And we've been receiving a lot of it, especially when we play the Russians and the Swedes.
How long has it taken you to kind of get into things? Because you come over here on the heels of a big disappointment, not going any further in the playoffs.
I'll tell you, it's about right now. Everybody's starting to get, like you said, the feeling. The first couple of weeks, you're not really, prepared for the going to Europe and playing exhibition games in West Germany. Different refs, different scenery, and it's fun for a while, but it gets kind of, you want to get back to the NHL type of style.
Is there any kind of a cultural thing in terms of, I guess, just being here and being around the atmosphere, dealing with the players from other countries? I mean, a very different feeling than the regular NHL grind.
Definitely, the one personality or trait I think is everybody's laid back here. Hockey players, just people in general. Nobody's going to have ulcers over here. Over in the States and Canada, hockey and everything with hockey is fast paced. Here is laid back, and they only play 38 games a season, and that's probably the biggest thing I've noticed since being here.
What do you think about changing the NHL around and playing it on the big ice surface?
I think that'd be a great idea. I think we should have to move the nets up a bit and maybe widen the rink. I think the fans would. It's a better game to see the speed, but for the international hockey in general, I think the NHL style should stay in because it's more exciting, I think.
What about a guy like you, a guy who can score, but a guy who makes his bread and butter in the corners and along the wall, grinding it out? Would it put guys like you out of business if you played all the time in the big ice?
No, I mean, you have to be able to skate. Obviously, in this game, if you don't skate, you're not going to be able to play. And, that just takes improving. And a guy like myself, I think I can play in the big rinks and other guys. And I think you just need to adjust. Guys who haven't played in the big rink just have to adjust and go from there.
Rick, thanks a lot. Good luck. Hope to see you back here sometime, but I know that you just assume be playing for the Cup. Good luck.
Thanks, Paul.
That about does it. We're going to get another coffee and take this break.
It's either drinking beer or coffee over there. I mean, these guys never have to work for a living over there. What was the biggest difference that you have seen playing in Europe and in North America? Because you have had probably as much, if not more, experience at international play than most people in recent years.
Well, I think, like Rick said, it's much more laid back over there. The type of hockey, the fans, they get up for the games and that, but there's not as much hype surrounding it as there is in North America, and I think it's just much more of a laid-back atmosphere.
Do you find that the Canadian players still have that mystique in Europe? I noticed it in Vienna when they found out that we were from Canada. It was Canada hockey, and they still had that mystique that the Canadian hockey scene is so big.
Oh, definitely, and they see more games now over there than they used to, and they know the stars, the Messiers, the Yzermans, guys like that, and it's a big thrill when they see those players come over there.
All right, we'll take a break and come back with some highlights from the second period of play. Sean Burke and Jim Van Horn at TSN Control Center in Toronto. Canada trailing the Soviets 4-1 after 2.
Lendel's won it. McEnroe's won it too. And so has Boris Becker. The AT&T Challenge brings out the best in tennis. The top players in the world go head-to-head, and you can see it here. From early round matches to the final, live coverage of the AT&T Challenge begins Thursday, and right here on TSN.
Underneath all those delicious pizza toppings lies the secret of McCain Croissant Pizza.
You gonna finish that last piece of crust? If you'll let me have it, I'll double your allowance. How about a new stereo for that last bite of crust? What a guy.
McCain Croissant Pizza, with the crust nobody leaves behind.
It's an event just being here. Skydome, the world's greatest entertainment center.
The foul line always came so easily. No pressure, no distractions. But now he sees and hears everything. He doesn't know why or how to make it stop.
Welcome back to our TSN Control Center in Toronto. Team Canada is trailing 4-1 after 2 periods of play. Sean Burke is with us. We're going to look at some highlights. Sean, the disallowed goal early in the second period really must have been demoralizing for Team Canada at the time.
I'm sure it was very unfortunate because they wanted to come out in that period and get one early, and here they figure they have done that, but unfortunately the referee can't see the puck and he waves it off.
Rick Tocchet carried into the goaltender Irbe, and it looked from the position of Irbe, even though you can't see the puck, that it did appear to go over the line, and yet Dag Olsen in the corner very quickly waved it off once again. Well, the referees, they're taught that when they can't see the puck, they have to blow the whistle, and on that play, even though it was under Irbe, he did blow it because he couldn't pick up the puck. There was a goal scored by Canada later in the period at 9:46. It finally came on the power play, and the guy who's supposed to be scoring, Steve Yzerman. But this is a good one. Well, it is. He's got the puck rolling on him here, but he's able to corral it just in time. And you see his head up all the way, and he looks, and as soon as Irbe goes down a bit, he puts it right in the top shelf. And it was a typical Yzerman goal because you always see him go to the top shelf, and he likes to put it by the goaltender's ear, and it's pretty hard to catch something as it's flying by your ear. It is, and again, he's got his head up the whole way, so he's looking and waiting for you to make that move. The Czechoslovakians, as you mentioned the other day, play very, very well with the lead. The Soviets have to feel very, very confident heading into the third period. They're up by 3 over Team Canada. If Dave King wanted to stress defense early in the game, he's got to forget about it now and let him go to town. Well, you saw later in that period, too, they gave up a lot of 2-on-1s, the Canadians, and 3-on-2s because they have to press now. They need 3 goals, and when you start pressing like that, you're going to give up chances, but it's too late now to worry about defense. You've got to get goals. All right, Sean, thank you very much. We'll take you back to Bern, Switzerland for some comments on the game so far from Paul Romanek and Gary Green as our live coverage of the World Hockey Championships continue in just a moment.
For the first time on television, the unforgettable music of 3-time Juno Award winner Frank Mills. Over 70 minutes of Frank Mills' most memorable piano classics on 2 cassettes, just $16.95, or on 2 albums or 1 compact disc, just $18.95. To order, call the toll-free number on your screen.
20 years ago, I recorded my first record. 10 years ago, Music Box Dancer. And now, your most favorite requests from me to you, together through the years.
Frank Mills, Together Through the Years, the 20th Anniversary Treasury, available to you only through this special TV offer. Write or call toll-free now.
COD and credit card customers call toll-free 1-800-447-2224. That's 1-800-447-2224. Or rush $18.95 for 2 LPs or 1 CD, $16.95 for 2 cassettes with $3 shipping and handling to Frank Mills, P.O. Box 600, Station R, Toronto, Ontario, M4G4E1. COD and credit card customers call toll-free 1-800-447-2224.
Steve Yzerman's goal in the second period on the power play was his 9th of the tournament to lead all goal scorers. He is also the leading scorer in the tournament. Let's get back to Bern for some comments on the second period from Paul and Gary.
Well, we feel it's our patriotic duty to be somewhat optimistic heading into the final period. Canada down by a score of 4-1. I guess time for maybe some of the guys who've been sitting on the bench to start coming through for you.
Well, it's also time for some of the players that have been out there playing to start coming through for you. I don't think that you're going to see a great deal of Cullen out there, and I don't think you're going to see a great deal of Keith Acton. I mean, they should play to a certain degree, but then again, so should players like Gilmore and Yzerman and Bellows and Tocchet. Those are the players that are your best players from the National Hockey League. Granted, they haven't done a great deal in tonight's game. They didn't do a great deal in the Czechoslovakian game.
So why do you keep playing
But you've got to keep going back with your best in hopes that they're finally going to come alive and spark it for you. You've got to play the percentages.
Why don't you go with the guys, play the percentage in this game? The guys who've been generating the most scoring chances are the Actons and the Cullens, the bench jockeys.
Well, I think Keith Acton, is a great skater out there, and Cullen is a feisty player as well. But then again, their percentage chances of them scoring out there just aren't as great as the opportunities that if they get in that same position, that a Steve Yzerman or especially a Bellows or a Tocchet or them are going to be able to get for you. I just don't think that you're going to see that, Paul.
What kind of style of play are we going to see?
We're going to see wide open hockey, and that's what we should see right now. With a 4-1 deficit, Canada can't sit back and say, well, we'll wait for the Soviets to make a mistake, and then we'll capitalize on it. Forget it, folks. The Soviets aren't going to make many mistakes out there, so you've got to make sure right now that you're the aggressor.
Canada hoping the Soviets will make a few. They have a 4-1 deficit to overcome. Here is Jim Van Horn and Sean Burke.
And you get the feeling that the fans at Bern, Sweden, or Switzerland as well, want the Soviets to make a few mistakes. They've been awfully quiet throughout the course of this hockey game. They were quite boisterous early in the Canada-Czechoslovakia game when Canada did have their scoring chances. Third period still to come. Canada trailing the Soviets 4-1. We'll be back to Bern after this.
They say good news travels fast.
Hey, have you heard?
Yeah, you.
The sizzle's back.
And that's what happened when McDonald's brought back the bacon double cheeseburger.
Hey, pal, you're going the wrong way.
That way. No, that way. That's savory bacon in every bite taste for just $1.79. But only till June 7th.
Hey, Jack, guess what?
I know. The sizzle's back.
I just got painted.
McDonald's bacon double cheeseburger. It's the talk of the town.
It's ever so tough being ranked #1 and not being rank. Playing the game without getting gamey. What assists me is Right Guard Sport from Gillette. With maximum protection and aromatically airy scents. It's the essence of good gamesmanship. After all, when one is capable of home runs, why play foul? Right Guard Sport from Gillette. Anything less would be uncivilized.
Hi, kids. Elizabeth. Who wants a Mr. Juicy? Please. But first you'll have to catch me.
Mr. Juicy frozen treats from McCain. Flavored with real McCain fruit juice from concentrate. Children love the flavors of McCain Mr. Juicy because of the fruit juice. It's a wonderfully wholesome way to celebrate summer.
What flavor? Raspberry.
McCain Mr. Juicy because of the fruit juice.
And so it comes down to one period. Canada needs a victory against the Soviet Union to keep their gold medal hopes alive. They trail 4-1 and need at least 4 goals.
Canada trailing by a score of 4-1. And welcome back to Bern, Switzerland. I'm Paul Romanuk along with Gary Green, and the folks settling back into their seats, watching a Canadian power play to start this period. Pavel Bure serving the remainder of his 2-minute holding penalty.
Minute and a half to go in the power play, and Team Canada better take advantage of it. A quick goal here could really spark them.
And away goes Yzerman. And in comes Bellows, but nobody can keep it in. 1:10 to go on the man advantage. McInnes to Adams. He's got Yzerman with him. Tries to get it to him along the boards. Back to McInnes. Not quite. 52 seconds to go on the power play. Bellows. Nemchinov got his stick on it. Here's McCowan. Keeping it in. 44 seconds to go on the man advantage. Yzerman is all alone in front of the net. Adams along the boards with Bellows. McCowan. Pinched in deep, couldn't keep it in. 1-on-1, Nemchinov shoots. McLean has to clear it away from him. Nemchinov will try to just jam it up and get a face-off. .15 seconds to go in the power play for Team Canada.
The Soviets will stay down in that corner all night long and just keep ticking the clock away. Only 12 seconds remaining on Canada's power play. Soviets with 2 men deep, even though they were killing the penalty off.
And Canada had only 1 defenseman back.
Cully, Gillian, Sean Burr. Cully, Gillian, Sean Burr. Gillian's got the right side, Sean left side. Cully got the center. Get talk. I got to talk here, boys. Come on.
You hear somebody in the bench pipe up saying, "Don't get caught." 5 seconds left in the power play for Team Canada. Biakin. He just turned it up into 5th gear coming down the right side. And
did he ever? There was no way that Lidster was going to be able to properly judge him.
Bure stopped by Lidster. Fleury dumps it in. He's up front with Tocchet. And Murray Craven. Tatarinov up to Biakin. Played just over 2 minutes of the third period. Canada trailing by a score of 4-1. Tatarinov. Offside called on the Soviets.
See, that's a problem, too, and Dave King talked about it before the game, is that the NHL players playing here on Team Canada aren't aware of the individual skill levels enough. Sure, they are of a Makarov or a Fedosov and even a Priakin, but they don't know the players like Tatarinov, and you can bet that there's no way that Doug Lidster realized that Priakin had that type of a breakaway speed, because he was just judging him on a one-on-one and relying on him being able to keep up to Priakin. All of a sudden, Priakin just blew away from him.
Rick Green clears it in. Sean Burr trying to quick pass it in front. Burr back at the line. Couldn't keep it in. Burr up front with Gilmore and Cullen. Priakin in there now for the Soviets. Back to Kravchuk. Shoots! Kirk McLean out to cut down the angle.
Since coming into the game in the end of the first period, Kirk McLean has played very well. He stood up, covered the angles well.
He has faced 11 shots in the game and hasn't given up a goal. Artur Irbe has only faced 10 shots, none so far here in the third period. And Bob Essenja faced 10 shots and gave up 4 goals. And a couple of those goals Essenja gave up were shots that I would challenge Jacques Plante or Ken Dryden or Bernie Perrant or any goaltending great to stop. They were just rockets from point blank that found the corners.
He didn't get pulled for the reasons of those 2 goals. I think it was the other 2 and that of needed strategy that King pulled him.
Here's Makarov. Got Kristich in front. Makarov cuts right in front, tried to jam it through. Heavy traffic in front of McLean. Kristich, Makarov.
What miscommunication and a scramble Team Canada had right in front of Kirk McLean. What a thing to do to a goalie.
Here comes Keith Acton, back up with Adams. Acton comes through and offside called on Team Canada.
Offside.
What a nightmare down in front of Kirk McLean.
Watch this. First of all, McLean was a little confused at which side the Soviet player was coming out with it. But then, as he's done so well, he held his ground. But look at this collision. 3 Team Canada players all trying to head out with the puck. And what a great save by Kirk McLean. Just got a piece of it, sent it over the glass.
Homatov. Kaminsky shoots. Tied up as he went after his own rebound. Adams comes back. Up ahead to Bellows. Lidster waits for Bellows to get onside. Here's the pass for Adams trying to come through. And I thought everybody got out. The linesman obviously didn't.
Gus Adams didn't think that the referee made the right call, or the linesman, I should say. Greg Adams has been probably the surprise player for Team Canada. He's been the player, and there you can see very clearly that Greg Adams is onside.
Everybody got out, and then Adams headed back in cleanly.
That right leg of Adams, that right skate, was definitely on the blue line when that puck was crossing.
Kaminsky, Yzerman, Al McInnes. Kaminsky up forechecking. Played almost 5 minutes. Team Canada trailing 4-1. Here comes Adams. Up there with Yzerman. Lead pass. Homatov shoots. Scores. To 1.
That pretty much does it for Team Canada. That's a surprising thing to say, I know, in a regular game, but watch Homatov. He goes to the backhand. What a great move Homatov made on Kirk McLean initially when he was right in front of him. Right here. Here's the great move. You could see the way that Homatov just spread those legs and then faked a little bit to go to his left. He went to the right, pulled it to his backhand, and by that time McLean had already committed himself and was down. Homatov found the room behind the fallen McLean.
Homatov's 11th goal of the tournament. He leads the tournament in goal scoring. And the Soviets up by a score of 5-1. Homatov with the goal at 4:30. We'll be back right after this.
Listen, Harold, if this doesn't get to Toronto by 10:30, we're going to lose our shirts.
Next time, send it Federal Express.
This is very important. If Benson doesn't get this by 10:30, he'll go crazy.
Next time, send it Federal Express.
Craven along the boards, back to Coffey. Shoots! That was tipped off a skate, just hit the side of the net. Soviets up 5-1. Rick Tocchet takes a look and comes in. And Fleury couldn't get out. Offside called on Team Canada.
Well, Fleury's upset because he was interfered with at the blue line. And in his books, there should have been an interference call. Watch right there. Right at the top of your screen, Theoren Fleury was interfered with as he was trying to get back out so as the play would be onside.
Come on, boys, come on, guys. Keep going, gang. You're working hard. Yep. Come on, come on.
I think what the players on the bench should be chatting about right now is possibly getting some shots away on Arthur Urbe.
They have had one so far in this third period. We've played over 5.5 minutes. Fedorov working it up ahead. Bure going for the net. He was on his knees and still almost got the job done. Gilmore. Sutter up, takes a run at it. McCowan shoots. Erbe gets the pad on it. Gilmore after the rebound. Here's Bure at center. Just taps it off. Kravchuk shooting. Kirk McLean got a piece of it. Glanced off his glove. John Cullen back for Team Canada. He's got Gilmore with him. Cullen stops, and as he does, it is thank you very much. Bure picks it off him. He's got Biakin trailing. Bure dumped on the play, losing his balance. Puck cleared up ahead now to Tocchet. Back in with Gilmore. Tocchet trying to crash through. Gilmore's there too. Coffey moves up. And Biakin coming down with that speed. Coffey got a beat on him and didn't allow him to get by. Adams. Sergei Pryakin for the Soviets. Great puck control by the Soviet players. We've played 7 minutes of the third period, and Team Canada down by a score of 5-1. The Soviets scoring 4 goals in the first period. Here's Adams. Stopped by Erbe. Rebound. Coffey shooting. That's stopped too. Lidster. Back of the net. Tocchet trying to get it in front, and Erbe will hang on.
Canada finally getting some chances, but Erbe, who has played well, simply takes it away from them. What a great save he made on that one, and he continued to get right back up and make other saves as Tocchet threw it out in front of the net. Erbe, however, deflected it right to Paul Coffey. Coffey, watch. He was looking for that space. Erbe just waited him out.
And Greg Adams had a chance as well, going to the net. Rick Tocchet doing a good job of forechecking, but Erbe, first time he's really been tested in this game, I think. And he came up big, the Soviet goaltender. Tatarinov getting it out to center. Komatov. Penalty coming up on Team Canada as Komatov was dumped and Fleury comes right over as McInnes heads to the penalty box. Fleury back trying to goad the Soviets into taking a retaliatory penalty.
Watch out, McInnes. Right there, he hacks away, and that hacking is earning him a trip to the penalty box again in tonight's game for slashing. Al McInnes slashing Komatov.
And that comes at 7:39, and the Soviets with a chance in the power play. They lead 5-1.
Fleury's in a real snit out there, and he would like to challenge Komatov, who he has been having some words with, and they have been getting their sticks up against each other.
Rick Green out there with McCowan, Sutter and Acton up front to kill off the Soviet power play.
You know what Dave King likes about Rick Green, other than his great abilities defensively? Also his abilities to have the patience when he gets cranked, hit really hard. He doesn't retaliate. He just waits. He waits for his opportunity. That fits in well with King's style of play here in international hockey.
Kaminsky back to the line. Here's Kaminsky. Across, Komatov fires it just wide. Fedosov. Tatarinov. Kirk McLean the stop. Komatov the rebound. McLean stops that too. And Rick Green gets it out with 1 minute and 10 seconds left in the power play for the Soviets. 5-1, the Soviets leading Team Canada. Fedosov drops it off. Nemchinov couldn't handle it. Fedosov. Here's Bykov now.
Green just took his man out behind the net, along the boards, gained possession of the puck, and then just slipped it out of the zone.
30 seconds left in the man advantage for the Soviets. They are up 5-1. Game 2 of the medal round for both these teams at the World Championships. Gusarov with a shot. .15 seconds to go on the power play. Davidov scores. Davidov on the power play. It's 6-1.
Soviets set it up very nicely right here, but again, it's going to take a perfect pass and a shot. The Soviets got both. Davidov found that room as soon as he got that perfect pass right here.
Just a great give and go. Davidov worked it into the corner, went for the net, got the return pass, and boom. Hello, top corner. 6-1. Bellows in front, tied up on the play by Byakin.
And number 3, Igor Kravchuk. 5:49.29.
Byakin, that great outside speed. John Cullen. Malahov up around the boards. Bure. Fedorov shoots. Kirk McLean guiding that away, and McCowan with the rebound in the corner. Played 10-20. Canada down 6-1. Here's Bure. Pulled down by Petit, and Michel Petit will head off. And the Soviets will get another power play. It's 6-1. You're watching the World Hockey Championships on TSN. 10:27, the time of Michel Petit's hooking penalty. Soviets on the power play.
Petit hasn't seen much ice time, and making and taking penalties like he just took, he may not see much more.
Keith Acton up to McCowan, off the boards now to Sutter. The other defenseman is Lidster. Acton, a backhand shot trying to fly in. Herbe gets decked after the shot. Back behind the play.
And Malahoff saved the goal because Herbe got a piece of that puck, but then it wandered behind him. Malahoff was right there to knock it away.
And a penalty coming up against the Soviets. Ron Sutter was dumped as he stepped in over the blue line. And Sergei Pryakin will head off, and that will put the snuff on the Soviet power play. 45 seconds in.
Sutter heads for the net. He's got his head up right now, but from behind, he's being hooked. Pryakin just gets a hold of the sweater with the blade of his stick and tugged him enough to knock him off balance.
So the team's at even strength for the next minute and 15 seconds, and then Canada will have a 45-second power play. Pryakin called for hooking at 11:12. Tatarinov back to Fedosov. Kirk McLean, solid stop as the roof continues to crumble inward. McInnes up with Gilmore and Yzerman. Yzerman trying to battle Fedosov in back of the net. Yzerman spins around. He's got it. McInnes breaking in, cuts right in front. McInnes still across to Yzerman off his stick.
That just pretty much sums it up offensively for Team Canada as well. In the past two games, the chances they've had like that in front of the net, they haven't been able to capitalize on. They haven't looked very smooth.
Homatov to Kaminsky. Fedosov now centers it right in front. Kaminsky almost clicked on that. Team Canada now working on the power play. Here comes Michel Petit to Coffey. Tocchet trailing. There's the pass to Tocchet. Shoots. Rebound. And Herbe equal on both challenges. Canada's opportunities have been few. Give Arthur Herbe a lot of credit. He hasn't really been in this game and has come up with big stops. Fleury drills one in and Herbe makes another one.
And Fleury charged the net and right at Herbe, and of course Tocchet was right behind him. What Canada don't want to do right now when this game is way out of hand on the scoreboard 6-1 is embarrass themselves by taking some bad penalties and by causing any fights right now that would be very unnecessary on their part. Well, after the waltzing is all over with, I think Team Canada and the Soviets will probably both have a man going to the penalty box. Fleury went at Gusarov, and his stick was high, and he got knocked off balance, and when he came down, his stick actually hit Herbe, and that's what started this whole scrum.
Well, so far, Rick Tocchet heading off to the penalty box, as well as Igor Kravchuk of the Soviets. Tocchet gets 2 for roughing. Penalties coming at 13:04. And Kravchuk also picking up 2 minutes, offsetting minor penalties. And both Tocchet and Kravchuk getting roughing penalties. So Canada with a 4-on-3 for the next 8 seconds. And most of that 8 seconds will be spent in the neutral zone. Teams back at even strength. Here comes McCowan. Shoots!
Oh. Everybody got a piece of that, but it went right through the other side and somehow just missed going into the net.
Konstantinov coming up. Lidster knocks it away. Bellows turned to tee it up, and Konstantinov was right there. Lidster stops Konstantinov that time. McCowan lets it go for Eisenman. The pass up over 2 lines. And that gets the whistle. We've played 13:59 of the third period. 1:05 remaining in the offsetting minors to Tocchet and Kravchuk.
Well, so what this sets up for Wednesday then, Paul, is a good opportunity for the Soviets once again, of course, to come up with the gold medal. And after the preliminary round, it was Team Canada, Rick Tocchet and Team Canada, that were the favored team to win the gold medal. Boy, how that has changed quickly.
Well, it brings up an interesting point. It's sort of a microcosm of the NHL season, where I think it was Mike Keenan who developed the strategy a couple of years ago of doing well enough during the regular season to qualify for the playoffs and then gearing your season towards the postseason. Here, your record from the round robin is not carried over into the medal round. So if you just qualify for the medal round, hey, why not?
But they call that the Al Eagleson rule. It was Canada that wanted that change, and they forced the change a few years ago.
Curtis Leschyshyn decking Fedorov in the corner. This is Leschyshyn's first shift of the game. He'll come over and belt Fedorov again along the boards and rough him up afterwards, and Leschyshyn gets 1 shift, and he will get 1 penalty. A roughing call, not surprisingly, considering the way he was going over Fedorov along the boards. Well, just a reminder, this coming summer out in Calgary, some of the finest hockey minds in the world will get together at the International Coaches Seminar, sponsored by the Canadian International Hockey Committee. The dates are June the 14th to 17th in Calgary. And if you're interested, then contact the Hockey Canada office in Calgary. Curtis Leschyshyn off for roughing at 14:40. And the Soviets will have a 4-on-3 man advantage for 24 seconds.
Curtis Leschyshyn played in the pre-tournament games last year for Team Canada, but did not make the final cut. It was a fairly aggressive penalty, no question about it, by Curtis Leschyshyn.
Makarov up ahead to Fedosov. Off the boards. Kristich. Tatarinov. Makarov centers it right in front. Kristich was tied up. And Acton clears. Now a 5-on-4 for the Soviets for the next minute and 30 seconds. Here comes Makarov. Drops it off. Great drop pass. Pryakin. Back to Fedosov. Rick Tocchet breaking it up. Acton bursts up the middle. There's the pass, and Acton not quite enough to pull away from Fedosov.
Well, Fedosov wasn't quite close enough for Acton to be able to draw that penalty either, and he tried hard to take a little dive right there, but Dag Olsen wasn't going to fall for it.
Kristich breaks in, centers it in front for Pryakin. Here's Pryakin in the corner now. 45 seconds left in the power play. Makarov. .30 seconds left in the power play.
You know, a key component if you're going to play that small, tight box is making sure you don't commit yourself going down on one knee and trying to block the pass. It just becomes a 5-on-3 when you do that.
Pryakin battling in there with McInnes. And McInnes holding his own. Kristich. And the puck cleared up over the boards and out of play along the far side with 2 seconds left in the man advantage for the Soviets.
Al McInnes just gave one of the Soviet players a pretty rough ride going along the bench. And it was Kristich that he nailed heavily right along the hash marks on the boards. And Kristich limped a little bit going to the bench. Tikhonov's pretty cool and calm right now. He should be. 6-1 lead for the Soviets. It's a little over 3 minutes left in this game.
Teams back at even strength. Kravchuk losing it. Gilmore all set to take off. Craven will carry it in. And a penalty coming up against the Soviets. And things start to grind slower and slower. 6-1, the Soviets lead Team Canada. You're watching the World Hockey Championships on TSN.
There is a shoe that truly is special. It's found in a place where your satisfaction is guaranteed. It's a shoe that can give you the advantage. It's technically advanced. It's a shoe engineered to take it. It delivers a message. It's designed for optimum performance. It's a Nike from National Sports Center, where your fun starts with us. Guaranteed.
Team Canada on the power play. Gilmore works it in, shoots. Erbe the stop. And Gilmore takes another poke at it. Bellows there too. A minute 48 to go in the Team Canada power play. So now the goal after getting out of this game is to look ahead to the final game, Canada and the Swedes, and Canada will be playing the Swedes for the bronze medal.
Well, the signs on Bykov's face is that he's been involved in lots of tough going, and he's such a great worker for this Soviet team. He's the smallest player on the team, at 29 years of age. He took over as captain of the club after Fedosov left and went to the New Jersey Devils.
Which is really ironic because Bykov's career almost came to an end back in the early 80s when he was arrested for shoplifting in Stockholm. The Soviet Ice Hockey Federation was so embarrassed they suspended him from international play for a year. And he managed to come back and regain face, I guess, regain respect. And here he is now wearing the captaincy on a very experienced Soviet club. A lot of experience mixed with a lot of new faces.
Well, a couple of shoplifting incidents by the Soviets also taught, the Soviet players also taught the Soviet Federation of Ice Hockey to give their players a little bit of money in their pockets so when they went on the road to play in these international tournaments and they saw some things that they could at least have the opportunity to purchase a few items to take back. They didn't even have enough money in their pockets to buy a Coca-Cola when they went on the road.
And of course, with political times changing a great deal, those situations won't arise as much anymore. Al McInnes playing in his first World Championship. Surprising that McInnes and Coffey haven't chipped in a little bit more offensively, because in those two guys, Gary, the top scoring and the second highest scoring defenseman in all of the NHL.
Well, it's disappointing for Al McInnes as well as the rest of the Calgary Flames players. The reason being they were hoping to get rid of that nasty taste they had in their mouth after being defeated by the LA Kings, and this was their opportunity. And now they're facing another drubbing.
A minute 25 left in the power play for Team Canada. Paul Coffey back to get it. Here's Yzerman. Offside. Had the NHL season been over, and could you have hand-picked two defensemen to bring over, I'll bet you that you'd have probably taken Coffey and McInnes.
No, there's absolutely no question about that. They're great players, and you need them in international play. You also need to round them out with having some good, solid defensive defensemen. And again, Dave King doesn't have that luxury of choosing from all 21 teams. You'd have Mario Lemieux, and other than the fact that he's injured, you could have had Mario Lemieux here. You would have had Wayne Gretzky, of course, and others. It would have rounded out this Canadian team very well, but that's the problem with the World Championships as far as Team Canada goes. Canada Cup, however, is a different story.
Next Canada Cup, 1991. 50 seconds left in the power play for Canada. McCowan going for the net. Couldn't quite click, and Malahov drills it around the boards and out. Just under 2 minutes to go in the game. 40 seconds left in the man advantage for Team Canada. Soviets lead 6-1. And Canada destined to play for the bronze medal in their final round-robin. Make that medal round game coming up against the Swedes. Cullen shoots high and wide and back up behind the play at the blue line. Rick Tocchet getting tangled up and delivering a two-hander on one of the Soviets. That was Vladimir Konstantinov who Tocchet tattooed.
Now Konstantinov then grabbed hold of Tocchet's leg and pulled him down right on top of him, so he was asking for trouble. Tocchet just took the helmet right off him and threw it down.
Holy fuck!
So Tocchet only gets 2 minutes, and there's Konstantinov down on the Soviet bench. Looked like his right arm got twisted around when they were all tangled up.
Tocchet gets it for roughing. Well, that's about all that he did to Konstantinov.
2 minutes penalty to USSR's number 16, Vladimir Konstantinov for slashing, and 2 minutes penalty to Canada's number 22, Rick Tocchet for roughing.
Well, your television menu for Wednesday, as far as the World Championships are concerned, we will show you both games. The gold medal game between the Soviets and the Czechs at 8:30 Eastern. That is 8:30 a.m. So you can have breakfast at the World Championships, and then at noon we will watch Team Canada play Sweden for the bronze medal. And the funny thing is, the ironic thing is, Gary, that heading into the medal round, Canada and the Swedes both odds-on favorites to win this thing. The Soviets and Czechs outside shots. Well, guess what?
Yeah, guess what? It's right. All of a sudden, the Czechs and the Soviets are going to square off, and they're both good hockey clubs. Boy, the Czechs really showed their abilities to come back in today's game.
McInnes shoots. A minute 15 left. McInnes had it poked away, and you can hear the fans whistling whenever Team Canada touches the puck. The whistling, of course, booing over in Europe. And it's unfortunate because Team Canada certainly had the fans on their side heading into this game and heading into the tournament. Yzerman trying to chop it out in front. Adams with a chance. Erbay with the save. McInnes. 2-on-1 for the Soviets. Nemchinov. To Kravchuk. Right in front. Score! Fedosov. A 2-on-1 quickly turned in to a 4-on-3, and Fedosov was the trailer coming up, and he does that as well as, or better than anyone in hockey. The late man coming up, and all of a sudden that pass goes back, and boom, the guy's free, and he walks in. Fedosov gets the goal, and it comes at 19:28. The Soviets up by a score of 7-1. McCowan dumping it in for Team Canada. 15 seconds to go. So the Soviets will go on to play the Czechs for the gold. And Canada will have to be content with playing the Swedes for the bronze. And once again, Viktor Tikhonov will take his club into a game gunning for the World Hockey Championship. This is his 10th World Championship. And say what you want about the way he gets along or doesn't get along with his players, he is a brilliant coach. To cop the cliche, the record speaks for itself. 7-1 the final score. The Soviets scored 4 goals on 9 shots back in the first period. And that was really about it. Canada got 1 in the second, and the Soviets pumping home 3 more in the third period just to punctuate a great victory. 7-1 the final score. And now the announcement of the players at the game for both the Soviets and Team Canada. And take your pick for the Soviets. And for Canada, well, I wouldn't want to be the guy picking. And the fans continuing to boo Team Canada as a result of some unnecessary roughness at the end of the game. In particular, Rick Tocchet, who took a chop at the fine Soviet defenseman Vladimir Konstantinov. Doug Lidster, the player of the game for Team Canada. Now for the Soviets. Best player of the national team of the Soviet Union, number 8, Mikhail Tatarinov, who scored the first Soviet goal in the game at 1:40. And that started the onslaught. And now the national anthem of the victorious Soviet Union. The final score, the Soviets 7 and Team Canada 1. You are watching the World Hockey Championships live from Bern, Switzerland.
A legend in country and western music, Stompin' Tom Connors.
And the girls are out to bingo and the boys are getting stinko. We think no more of bingo on a Sudbury Saturday night. It's Spud to Spud from the bright red mud.
Stompin' Tom Connors has traveled the world over singing his songs of Canada that made him famous.
I am the wind.
Now, Capitol Records and Atlantis Direct Marketing present a special collection of his greatest hits. Stompin' Tom Connors, a proud Canadian.
When the big moon shines in the Maritimes on the old Atlantic shore.
Stompin' Tom's music reflects the true Canadian way of life and the people who share in it.
Katie Lang, so singer, please stay.
Stompin' Tom Connors, as a proud Canadian, would like to dedicate this new album of his greatest hits to all the people who share in our great heritage. This album is for you.
The best man in Ottawa was Buffalo Joe.
A great album by a great Canadian. Stompin' Tom Connors, a proud Canadian. 20 of his greatest hits on 2 LPs or 2 cassettes, $14.95. 1 compact disc, $19.95. Here's how to order.
Use your credit card and call toll-free 1-800-521-8883 or send check or money order for $14.95 for 2 records or 2 cassettes or $19.95 for 1 compact disc plus $3 shipping and handling to Stompin' Tom Connors, P.O. Box 600, Station R, Toronto, Ontario, M4G 4E1. That's 1-800-521-8883. Call now.
Daddy,
Yes, dear.
Is there cholesterol in these French fries?
Is there what?
You know, cholesterol.
Oh, you mean cholesterol?
Well?
No, honey. These are McCain super fries. They're cholesterol-free. Want some?
Daddy?
Yes, dear.
I'm glad we had this little chat.
Great tasting McCain French fries from the oven. Cholesterol-free for the whole family.
Welcome back to our TSN Control in Toronto. I'm Jim Van Horn along with Sean Burke. Well, a very impressive 7-1 victory for the Soviet Union over Team Canada today in medal round play at the World Hockey Championships in Bern, Switzerland. Sean, you made the observation as the game got underway that you really felt the Soviets had the jump today, and they started with the jump and they carried it right through to the finish.
Well, they did. Right from the start, they did have that extra jump, and it seemed that once they had that lead, much like the Czechs the other day, it's really tough to get going against them because they control so much of the play.
So much has been made of the time it takes for Team Canada to gel as a team. It seems to me that when you get into a situation of the World Hockey Championships, especially this year, it doesn't take very long to determine which teams are going to be in the medal round. And it seems to me that the teams, the European teams especially, are the ones that go over and play as well as they have to make the medal round. And once they're into the crucial medal round, which is a sudden death format, that's when they really start playing the hockey that they have to. And I think it was been a perfect example of Canada's games against both Czechoslovakia and the Soviet Union.
Well, you could see that they went undefeated in the round robin, but it really doesn't mean much when it gets down to it. Both the Soviets and the Czechs were warming up, and once it did come time to the medal round, they had their team going in full force again.
All right, we'll talk some more in a few minutes, but right now let's take you to Bern, Switzerland, and join Gary Green and Rick Tocchet.
Rick, your team got off to a slow start today, mostly because of those 2 quick goals by the Soviets, and it's a tough team to get down against early.
Yeah, when you're down early and they get power plays, many of them of that is, it's tough to kill off. We got a good penalty killing unit, but it's tough to score when you're a man down.
How much have injuries played a factor in these last couple of games? I know that you've been playing hurt as well as many of your teammates.
Well, you got to learn to play hurt. I think we might have peaked too early. We were 10-0 there. We were on exhibition games, and it just seemed like these guys were playing possum, and injuries, sure. I think the major one was Paul Coffey with the bad hand. When he can't shoot, that's a big part of our offense.
What about that preliminary round? I mean, you and Team Sweden going into this gold medal round were really the favorites, and both of the clubs have experienced the most difficulties.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult the way the setup they have. You can peak too early. We played 3 games that really didn't mean much, and we wanted to win so bad, and then we weren't prepared against Czechs. And tonight, we got behind the 8 ball, and it's just within 3 days you go from first to last. It seems like.
World Championships and Canada Cup, there's a big difference. With Canada Cup, you've got an opportunity to prepare well in advance. You're rested. But the World Championships, they've got to be a lot tougher on the National Hockey League players coming over here in Team Canada and Team USA because of the long NHL season.
Well, definitely. They add players as players come over. They switch lines. Week before, and it's tough. It's tough on the Al Eagles and them. They have to choose and pick guys, and you mismatch guys right away. In the Canada Cup, we had 6 weeks to prepare, and that's when you get the Gretzkys and Lemieux, and that's where I really think Canada comes through.
What about just the fact of being away from home for so long? I mean, you as players in the National Hockey League, you have to be faced with that long travel schedule, and you are away from home a great deal, and then you come over here. All of the exhibition games that you play even before the World Championships, by this time this week, do you get to the point where you don't want to see another hockey puck?
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm a European person. We've been in Czechoslovakia, we're in West Germany, and it's kind of nice, but it's been a long haul for about 12 of us. We've made the sacrifice, but then again, it's a privilege to wear the Canada uniform and to try your best. And I thought we tried our best, and we just got behind the 8 ball.
Well, Rick Tocchet, that's something that you've always been known for, trying your best. Thank you very much for all the cooperation that you've given us through this World Championships.
That's great.
All right, thank you very much, Gary Green and Rick Tocchet. We'll take a break and come back with more as our live coverage of the World Hockey Championships from Bern, Switzerland continues in a moment.
Watch this. Hello.
My name is James, and I'll be looking after you for this fill-up. If you'll direct your attention to the pumps, we have an excellent Esso Supreme, our best. Esso Regular, of course, but may I suggest something in the middle? New Esso Extra mid-grade unleaded with more octane and cleaning additives than regular.
Try our new Esso menu.
Cute. I'll get back to work. Do they take reservations?
Our new look for the 90s came to us in a flash. The look is new. The taste is true blue. The next time you pour yourself a blue, you won't believe your eyes. The look is new. The taste is true blue.
Take a good day, make a better day. Take a little dream, make it grow. Take above and beyond where the sky is blue. With the extra thing that you do, rise above.
Above and beyond. That's the Air Canada way.
It's an event just being here. Skydome, the world's greatest entertainment center.
You'll find all the action at home when Toronto visits Cleveland to battle the Indians. It's Blue Jays baseball live and on the road, Monday night at 7:30 Eastern. Television's best baseball schedule is here on TSN.
It is time now for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by Apple Auto Glass. And it was late in the first period of play. Team Canada on the power play. Paul Coffey loses the puck to Sergei Fedorov. He takes off and scores a shorthanded goal that just manages to get over the line. His fourth of the tournament gives the Soviet Union a 4-0 lead over Team Canada. They could not rebound from that deficit. A cash donation will be made to amateur sports on behalf of TSN and Apple Auto Glass. Saves you money on stone chip windshield repairs. Well, what appeared to be a chance at a gold medal for Team Canada has faded very, very quickly with losses to both Team Czechoslovakia and the Soviet Union. 7-1 the loss this afternoon over in Europe, Sean, and the best Team Canada can do now is a bronze medal if they beat Sweden.
Well, what it comes down to now is a matter of pride. You know, you're going to be playing against a team, Sweden. It has a lot of players who play in the NHL as well. And these guys don't want to go back next year to start the season having lost to those guys.
Are you surprised at the turn of the events, the way things have unfolded? As the guys mentioned from Bern, that Canada and Sweden were favored for the gold medal, and all of a sudden the tables have completely switched?
Well, you never do know about the Soviets and the Czechs. No matter how much they say that, you know, they're not going to win it this year or they're not prepared or whatever, you always find it comes down to the big games. They're always there.
All right, Sean, thank you very much. Let's take you back to Bern now and join Paul Romanuk and Gary Green.
The most disappointing thing, I think, Gary, from a Canadian fan's point of view, is that they weren't even in they were in it for 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Well, there's no question about that. But again, as we know so well, Paul, that if you get down against a great Soviet team, early in a hockey game, anytime during a hockey game, it's tough to come back. But right now, at least the Canadians can try to pull this thing out, at least with a medal, because they can win a bronze medal, provided that they can beat Sweden in Wednesday's game.
You know what I liked about that interview you did with Rick Tocchet? You brought up the aspect of injuries, and he refused to use it as an excuse.
Well, I think that's typical National Hockey League players. They're not going to use injuries as an excuse, and nor should they, because, again, as we point out through the course of the game, injuries can apply to both teams, and there is no doubt that some of the Soviet players were hurt as well. However, the injuries that you carry forward from an 80-game season in the National Hockey League, plus, as some players had in the first round of playoffs, makes a little bit of a difference. The Soviets don't have quite that tough a schedule.
Injuries, whatever. Something made a difference in Canada losing by a score of 7-1 against the Soviets. They will play for the bronze. Back to Jim Van Horn and Sean Burke.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. And our final telecast of the World Hockey Tournament will be on Wednesday morning starting at 8:25 Eastern. That's the gold medal game between the Soviet Union and Team Czechoslovakia, followed by Canada and Sweden for the bronze medal coming up at approximately 11:55 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Wednesday, May 2nd for the gold medal game between Czechoslovakia and the Soviet Union and the bronze medal game between Canada and Sweden. Again, the final score of today's game, the Soviet Union all over Team Canada, 7-1. For Sean Burke, Paul Romanek, and Gary Green, I'm Jim Van Horn. So long for now. TSN has presented the World Hockey Championships from Bern, Switzerland. Brought to you by Air Canada, the airline that goes above and beyond. And by Labatt's, beer at its best. You're watching TSN, the Sports Network.